Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to Eternal Journey, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
Greetings, all my knights and Puntawans. You are listening to Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi. This is episode 115 of the podcast, where we are going to be doing our rare and legendary set review for the absolutely phenomenal set known as Cold Hunt. Joining me on the line is my good friend, John Holio. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Jedi. How are you doing, man?
I am doing swell, my friend. Absolutely swell. Excited to be talking about some neat cards, some bombs, some flops, and whatnot. But first things first, I want to give a quick shout out to some of the supporters of the podcast. Really do appreciate your ongoing support. You're part of the reason why we keep going. So shout outs to, let's see. Well, K-Ston, appreciate you. Sandy Fur, appreciate you. John Holio, you're always a great supporter of the show, man. Appreciate you once as well. Shimra, Stabmaster, Telemachus, going with Chastity Weaver, and Chewbacca. Thank you all for the ongoing support. Really appreciate you guys. You're fantastic. And don't mind the attaboy every once in a while. And that's pretty much it, John. So let's go ahead and talk about our grading scale real quick. We have this that way after a discussion that John and I have going back and forth. You may not really be sure where we're at, or we might say a card's really good or a card's really bad. And then we both end up in like a C plus and a C. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break it down. We're going to start off with our A's. These are our bombs, our game-winning cards, things that can pull you ahead in a bulge stall. They can kind of even you out or stabilize you if you're behind, or they can close out the game in very short order if you're already ahead. Things like Guardian Angel and Azrog Streetbreaker.
Yep, then you got your Bs. Those are cards that actively pull you into a color, or some premium removal, such as Overthrow or Behold the Truth.
C's are going to be the body of the deck or the pawns of limited, so to speak. These are the cards that are just okay. They're fine. They're not game breaking or anything like that, but they are completely playable and they're going to make up the majority of your deck. Things like Genius Combatant and Freight Azri.
Yep, that takes us to the Ds. Those are the last inclusions and cards you may rather not play, but will make the deck, last cuts. Those are cards like Rolling Fog and Last Line Defender.
Then we're going to have our Fs. These are cards that are unplayable or cards that were specifically designed for constructed play. These are cards that you really, really want to avoid putting in your deck at all costs. Things like Reset the Day and Diplomatic Immunity.
All right, and then sometimes we'll give a build-around grade. Those are cards that are bad alone, but go up in value and get better when drafting with their synergies in mind. Cards like Recruitment Effort and Ring of Glamour.
And then finally, something that's not really going to come into play in this format, but we may see it in the second iteration of Cold Hunt Draft, are market cards. This is a grade that we give to a card when we feel like it is, in general, something that you don't want to be playing, or that it's super specific and niche of an answer, and so not really something that you're going to see a lot of play in the main deck. But if you're able to put it in your market and access it from your market later in the game when it is a very potent card, then it is worth being a market card. But once again, in this format right now, we are not seeing any market access. But okay, John, that kind of covers it, my friend. So without further ado, you ready to start talking about some rares?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm loving this format. I don't think I've drafted this much since like Defiance.
Nice. I'm sure the adjusted draft reward system has probably helped influence that a little bit as well.
Definitely.
Okay, well, we're going to be starting off with Fire and just pretty much going down the game client order. So starting us off is Godan's Mark. This is a curse at rare for 1 red. When the cursed unit is reckless. when the cursed unit dies, create and draw a power burst and a treasure trove. Yeah, I really don't like this card. I mean, it quote unquote replaces itself, but your opponent kind of sees it coming as far as they have a turn to react, because it is a slow speed, so they can pump their dude, they can attack with other things. You may not have a blocker that can kill their guy for free. Yeah, I don't like this card at all, John.
Yeah, I was a little higher on it at first, but you're not wrong. And there's like a lot of ways to like even just bounce units and things like that. There's not a lot of ways to silence your own units in the format. There may not be any, honestly, but yeah, like it can be cheap removal, um, but you have to have the right board, and like you said, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's great. Somewhere in the D range, I think.
Yeah, and like even if you're the aggressive deck, so you don't care if you take the hit, right? You're not planning on blocking the unit. It still takes a turn, right? You can't just play it. It takes the unit out and you can swing. You have to play it, wait a turn, and then yeah, I don't like that. I'm actually on F on it, but I can come up to a D with you.
Okay, yeah, just D.
All right. D for Godan's Mark. I guess it will do some work. There's not even like a curse synergy or attached synergy in this format, attachment synergy either, so there's like another knock against it. Next up is Oni Insider. This is a 3/1 Oni at rare for 2 red. Contract 1. So this is the first iteration of Contract. A reminder. Contract means that when you play this unit, it is going to ask you if you want to go into depth or not. That will be subtracted from your overall power, either the turn that you play this or the subsequent turn, or a mixture of both. If you choose to contract, it will add debt, period. And if you have the unused power, it will eat it up that turn. But if not, then it will eat up the rest the following turn. Contract 1, kill an enemy attachment on an enemy, kill an attachment on an enemy, or create and draw a Warhelm. And for those of you, Warhelm is a +1/+0 attachment. Give a unit charge and Warcry 1. This guy just seems fine. I think he's a C+. I mean, he's not backbreaking. At the end of the day, you're going to get either a 4/1 charger for 3 or a 3/1 for 2, which is completely standard in, Eternal Limited. So, yeah, I give this guy like a C+, because you could put the Warhelm on something else later on in the game, so.
Yeah, that's definitely the best use for it, right? Like, get it out early, start attacking, and then save the Warhelm for a unit that can really mess up your opponent out of nowhere. And then honestly, the kill and attachment on enemy is a pretty nice thing to have access to, like as a top deck later in the game as well. Like kind of both modes are good. Contract is
yeah, especially like Starkist Wings.
Yeah, or Brigade Hall, anything like that. So yeah, I think it's solid. I mean, I could even go B-, but C+ is fine.
Yeah, I think it's still C+. Like I think you're right, but I think it still kind of sits like that's the top end of it, right? Not the average. So I think it's good, but I'm good with C+. I definitely don't think you're like windmill slamming it.
Yep.
Next up, Far From Home is a spell at rare for 3 red. Exhaust up to 3 ready units. Deal 1 damage to the enemy player for each enemy unit exhausted this way. Create and draw a treasure trove for each of your units exhausted this way. So this card has a little bit and a lot going on as well. So you can exhaust your units, right, to create a treasure trove. So you're essentially drawing cards, but it's definitely a convoluted way. You're taking one, 2, or 3 of your guys out of the fight. You can exhaust the enemy units to ping them, right, and then get in there because they're not blocking. And then obviously any combination of the 2, right, so you can get like 1 blocker out of the way. And I guess if you have a 1/1 you don't want to attack, I don't know, this card seems a little odd to me, only because I feel like you're only going to want to do one side of it, right? And right. even then, it's got to be a specific kind of board stall. Like, if you're aggressive, then you want to keep attacking, so you don't want to exhaust your guys, right? But if you're in a board stall, you probably don't have the luxury of having bigger units to just like tap the smaller ones to draw a card, and your opponent can't have a good attack on you. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about this card. Like I think I've ran it once, and it was kind of like whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, and I mean, you know, it's a Yeti in the desert, which is weird. So like, you know, it fits the like it's just a weird card all around. Like if you think of it like a Cloud of Ash that also deals 3 damage. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
playable, right? It can
Mm-hmm.
be okay. So like I think all the drawing is like you said, it's pretty awkward, and I don't think it's going to come up very often if you're running this card. I think you really just want to use it like a Cloud of Ash, like to get in that last hit, basically. And there, I think it's fine. Um, yeah, I don't think that's busted or anything. It's like a
Yeah.
C minus, something like that.
Yeah, I'll go with C minus. I'm good with that. Thing is that this is rare versus Cloud of Ash being uncommon. But
Yeah, is that cost 3? I mean, this at least it's
it costs 4. Yeah,
yeah, right. This is like a slightly cheaper and it deals damage, so it's definitely better than Cloud of Ash. Although it doesn't
unless they have a
cost
4
full.
bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. C minus. C minus. It's
Yeah.
fine. I don't think it's a card we really got to dwell too heavily on. Next up is Hearth Smasher. This is a 4/4 elemental rare for 4 red. When one of your units dies, including itself, deal 1 damage to the enemy player. So definitely rewards your go wide strategies, and then baseline it's just a slightly harder to cast 4/4 for 4. Yeah, I like this card. I don't know. C plus B minus. I mean, if your strategy is to go wide, this thing could definitely, you get him for some chip damage early, then you play this guy. He could get in there himself, and if not, at least your cheaper guys can like get in additional damage on their way out the door. It makes kind of some of those more suicidal combat tricks like Slice Slash, I don't think is the format, but Rampage
Beyond
and stuff
Fear.
like that. Or, yeah, Maneuver. Yeah, there you go, Beyond Fear. Things like that a little bit better. And, we've seen it before where sometimes this, 1 damage can slowly chip away at your opponent, makes a difference later on in the game. So I like this guy, but that being said, I don't think he's a windmill slam. So I don't know, what do you think? C plus?
Yeah, I think C plus is fair. I think if it was a single pip of fire, I could go B minus, but it's like a slightly hard to cast 4-drop. But there's a lot of support for this in the format. You want, spam Grenadin rescues early, and then when you get to 5, throw down a captain, and you've basically won. Right? So
Yeah. Yeah, good call. Right. So C plus for Hearth Smasher. Ooh, this card's a spicy one. I'll let you talk about it. So tell us about Inferno Phoenix, John.
sure, it's a 5 and 2 fire, 3/1 Phoenix. It's got flying charge, double damage, and entomb. Flying charge and double damage are randomly distributed to the top 3 units of your deck. So, with clear skies and no open power on your opponent's side, when you play this thing, it just gets in for 6 right then and there, which is nice. And it's easy for them to kill, right? Like one point of health means it dies to like anything. But if that thing has a relic weapon, it still chunks them when they kill it, and it passes on those abilities. It's kind of similar to like Azrog's effect from the last format, right? It's a little random,
Yes.
but they're all good. So yeah, I think this is quite solid. I don't want to say like A, but it's close, like A minus, B plus. What do you think?
Man, I actually am good going A with it because, there's just no downside to running this, right?
Well, the downside, it like if you're like behind, it doesn't help you stabilize really. Like you may
I
play
mean,
it hoping to trade, and they just kill it like with a warning shot, and then crack,
Mhm.
and then they kill you or whatever.
Mm.
So, but as long as you're ahead on board and just being aggressive, this thing is a great great top end.
Okay. One thing of note, I don't think you mentioned it. It does skip over units that already have a battle skill.
It should, yeah.
Yeah. So just for example, if the top unit of your deck is flying and it randomly rolls flying for it, it's not going to give it flying. It'll give it one of the other abilities, and
Well,
then flying will roll over.
I played this one constructed, and I don't think like if it rolled flying for your unit, I don't think it actually gives it a different one. I think it just passes flying down.
Okay. Fair enough. Well,
You know
either
what I
way,
mean?
yeah. That I I can get behind that. Either way, you're not punished is
Right.
what I'm trying to get at. So, the only reason is because we did talk about if you're running just Phoenixes or Phoenix Eye or whatever. But yeah, so I'm good with A minus. I think this card is extremely powerful.
Okay.
So and then you can always high roll those abilities on the right kind of units and just smash. So, yep, A minus from Inferno Phoenix. Next up is Wyatt Trashman. This is a 4/4 Gunslinger Rogue for 5 red. Inscribe. So inscribe means it's kind of like the old school pledge mechanic where you can turn this unit into, or this card into, a depleted power that turn. It does completely transform it into a depleted power, so you don't have access to the card anymore. But in a pinch, it allows you to kind of stick semi to your curve. It is depleted, and it is just a basic sigil. But you can do it at any turn, not just the first turn. So that's Inscribe. Reckless and Revenge. Pay 3 to draw a card. At the end of your turn, discard it. So kind of impulsive draw, if you will, where you do get a card, but you have to spend it that turn. Of note, it doesn't give you additional power plays, so you want to make sure that you activate this before you make your power play in case you draw power. And yeah, this card seems solid to me. I like it. It has Reckless, but the Revenge kind of helps with that a little bit. You can still get a card out of it. Of course, that sometimes it can be a little awkward, right? Because you want to fire this off before you combat in case your opponent blocks, etc., etc. The 4/4 for 5 seems pretty decent. I like this card. I think I'm probably putting it at a B though, because occasionally the Reckless is a liability, but I mean it's got Inscribe too, so it's a cushion, right? You're not really punishing yourself for playing too many 5s if you can pitch one to power. So yeah, I like this guy at a B. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I also like Wyatt. I've played him a bunch of times now. The pay 3 to draw a card, especially like, if you're lower to the ground deck, is really good. This, yeah, he's overperformed for me, and like you said, Inscribe, just kind of pushes him over the edge for me too. Like I could even go as high as B plus, but I think B is fair.
Okay. I'm good with that. I can go up there. I like card draw. So, and it's in fire with a bunch of pump spells. With Reckless, it hides the fact that you have a trick, because you have to attack with it.
It's
so,
great when it comes back with Revenge too, because you can just immediately, it's like that turn you have all of your power no matter what kind of thing.
Yeah. And then plus,
great with cheap tricks that you can, go alongside him, because your opponent's going to want to block him and get him off the board no matter what.
Yeah, and this is the format with all those commons and uncommons that could buff other units. So obviously putting any kind of battle skills on Wyatt makes him that much better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so B plus for Wyatt Trashman. Next up, we have Thundering Titan. This is a 6/4 Sentinel for 6 red. Charge while there are 20 or more cards in the enemy void. When Thunder Titan hits the enemy player, ready your other units. They can attack again this turn. I mean, this card's just a D, right? I mean, the game has to go pretty late. There's no... I'm trying to think. There's no self-mill strategy in this format.
No,
and then
that first part's never happening, I don't think.
Yeah, plus it's an eavesdrop meta, so the whole enemy void, half the time you're going to be stealing their void. And then
if they steal yours, then I guess the first part could come in to play.
Yeah, I guess. And then we've seen this a couple times already as far as the getting a second attack, and most of the time at this stage in the game, just one A space is going to be enough to do it. Or if you didn't have good attacks the first one, the second one's not going to be that much better. In fact, probably worse. So yeah, I think this card is just a D. I think it's really just a vanilla 6/4.
Yeah, it's like the elephant in shadow, basically.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. It does have a little Mimi support, like scatter shots in the format. And it's pretty boosted. I see it a lot, but that's like kind of two questionable cards, making like a questionable combo. And like you said, like the board state has to be right for this to even matter. And I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Like D plus maybe, whatever. If this guy had Inscribe, he'd be a little
Yeah.
more playable, I think.
You know what? You're right though. That 6-4 elephant does see play though when you need it.
He's
So
begrudgingly playable. It's
yeah.
in the D
So
category.
so we'll go D plus for Thundering
Okay.
Titan or Thunder Titan. Khan Sensari General is next. She is a 7/5 Centaur Warrior at Legendary for 7 and then quad fire influence. Inscribe. Your other units and weapons have +2 attack, +2 strength permanently. I guess for as long as she's in play. Sorry.
Mhm.
And then when you inscribe Khan, the top unit or weapon of your deck gets +1 strength. The cool thing with her is obviously she can give, if you have an attachment on a unit, they both get the +2/+2, so you kind of give a unit +4/+4. That's kind of sweet. You can kind of get blown out in combat a little bit by this, right? You're attacking, expecting your units to be a little bit bigger, so they trade, and then if they have some way of blowing out Khan, silencing her, killing her before damage is dealt, you kind of get blown out that way. It does make your blocks a lot better, obviously, because then your 2-drops trade up, your 3-drops trade up. She can come down and do a ton of damage. It's kind of like a one of the various, Anthem quote unquote effects that +2 your entire team, but it sticks around and it's a body. Quad fire though is very difficult to cast. We've seen this before in previous formats, and it is a lot. There is a solid removal spell right at Hoof to get rid of her nice and cleanly for 5. She does dodge Searing Fist. She dodges Victimless Crime and some others. I don't know. Probably another B.
Yeah.
No, I actually, because of the casting cost, I'm gonna go B minus.
That's fair. I mean, you're just playing this for the, power
Anthem,
that buffs the next unit like 99% of the time. I've had her in a deck once, and yeah, she was just always powered. But that was nice, playing a power that that buff comes in handy a lot. Just a little one, but it's like it's like a free one. So it's
Yeah,
nice.
I like that. Counting her more as power and then just upside if you do get to play her. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
your grade's fair.
all right. So B minus for Sensari General. Next up, we have Infernal Chant. This is a spell at Legendary for 8 fire. Deal 10 damage to a unit. Womp womp. Contract 10. So you can pay a total of 18 to play this card. Play 2 Infernus. And Infernus are 5/5 trample haste or charging units that die at the end of turn. Yeah, I don't like this card. I mean, granted, once again, it's 18 across 2, maybe even 3 turns by that point. It's gonna for sure kill something, but I mean, I don't know. I don't like this card. John, where are you at on it?
It's pretty whack, right? Like I think the only way this would actually be like good is if you already have a bow in place. So like the spell has overwhelm, but that requires you to have a bow down that made it through one of the opponent's turns, unless you already have 10 mana available, right? 10 power. So it's just such a late game effect, and then if there's some units that a decks will play that can just block Inferni anyway. So I think it's a sketchy win con. Definitely not very high on this one.
Yeah, I feel like this is a constructed card that you can like copy or do some shenanigans with. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it will kill something and may win you a game, but at that point, like even at board stalls, I feel like it's bad because you kill their biggest guy, but who's to say that the Infernus are going to be enough to kill them, right?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't like this card either. I think it's going to do some work, so I can't give it a straight F.
Yeah.
But so yeah, all right, D minus for Infernal Chant.
It's sketchy.
Yeah, for real. Now this is definitely something I'd rather be doing with 8 power.
Right.
Scavenging Terror is a 8/8 dragon at rare for 8 fire. Flying. Then contract 4, deal 1 damage to the enemy player for each unit in their void. And then give them Void Bound. Card seems solid. I mean, 8 is a lot, but I mean, the payoff is there. An 8/8 flyer is very difficult to tussle with. Very difficult. It dodges most of the removal in the format. It's going to block everything in the air. And, it deals some damage on the way in at the very least as well. By the time you're playing this, you probably don't care about the contract for the subsequent turn. I like this card. Yeah, I don't know. Probably 8 is still a little hindrance, right? I don't know. B minus maybe? Maybe B? What do you think, John?
I don't want to say B. Like I'm more like C plus just because of the casting cost.
Okay.
Like B minus, I'd be cool with too.
No, I could do C plus. I could do C plus.
Yeah, it's just like it's literally just brought down by its casting cost. Like the 8/8 is, the fact that its stats are that big is almost like overkill. Like,
Well,
it's probably so much better. Like if it was a 6/6 and came down a little earlier or whatever.
yeah. Yeah, and you're right. And it doesn't have overwhelm, so it could be chump blocked for a couple turns. All right, fair enough. Yeah, C plus. Good call. Good call.
Okay.
C plus for Scavenging Terror. All right, that was fire. So sweet. Fire looks good. I like it.
Couple wacky ones, couple good ones in there.
Yeah, but I mean, we're gonna see that with rares and legendaries, right? They're gonna be either swings and miss or swings and home runs. So
I think so.
taking us into time, we're going to start off with Waystone Igniter. This is a Radiant for 1 time. It's a 2/1. And then contract 2, give Waystone Igniter +2/+2, or play a 1/1 Spitling, or kill an enemy relic with an even cost. And if I remember correctly, the Spitling, let me look.
It's a 1/1, and when it dies, it pings them for 1.
Yep. Man, it's so weird to me that this card is a legendary, right? I guess the strongest mode is you play a 4/3 on turn 1.
I think in draft, that's definitely the strongest mode. Like, there'll be some decks where you want that sack fodder, but I don't think you want it anywhere near that early in the game.
Yeah.
And then, like, even at the end of the game, like, I don't know. There's not... Yeah.
So it's just a C, right?
Turn 1, make a 4/3. Like, that's very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, you know what, actually, because on turn 3, this thing is still a 4/3 for 3. That's pretty good, right?
It's still pretty good.
So, C plus?
Yeah, definitely at least a C plus, right? Like, and there's, unfortunately, like, Brigade Hall's not even cost, or I'd be even higher on it, but it does kill, like, Expedition Gear, which is, something you see relatively often for rares, I think.
Yeah.
So, even the Relicate mode is occasionally relevant. But yeah, 4/3 for 3, possibly on turn 1 is pretty good.
Yeah, all right. C plus for Waystone Igniter. Next up is Field Medic. This is a 3/3 cleric at rare for 3 time. She has Valor and Ambush. Contract 2, Field Medic is invulnerable to damage this turn, and you gain health equal to the total number of units. So it doesn't say yours or your opponent's, it's literally all the units on the board, which is kind of sweet. And just a friendly reminder, Valor means that whenever this unit is blocked, it gets a +1/+1 until end of turn for each unit blocking it. I don't know, John, where are you at on Field Medic?
That's solid. A 3/3 ambush that doesn't die is basically, a mid game, early to mid game removal on a stick, and even late game, this can help you like remove something that's attacking you, and that contract, like that life gain, can be kind of insane. Like I've seen it be very high in some of my games. I think this is pretty good. I'd give it like a B minus, maybe even a B. Like after it does its thing, the Valor means it can also basically attack as a 4/4 too.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, I mean, we saw that we had that common 3/3 with Ambush for 4, and that did quite a bit of work, and this card is obviously better. So yeah, I could get behind that. So B minus for Field Medic. Next up, we have Deja Vu. This is a fast spell at rare for 4 time. Put one of your units into your hand. It costs 0 and has Ambush this turn. So kind of a combination of things going on here, right? You can use this to negate an opponent's removal spell or a killer attack. You can use this to essentially, quote unquote, refresh one of your units that you attacked and ambush your opponent's unit attack, mid attack with them. You can, let's see, you can reestablish and enter the battlefield effect, right? Something, for example, let's go back to the Igniter, right? You can pull the Igniter and then play it again, giving additional +2/+2, or, resetting cards, things like that. I think that's the gist of the ways to use it. That being said, 4 is a lot to leave up. So this is clearly going to be something that you do in the late game. I don't really think you're, depending on the timing of it, right? Because if your opponent tries to kill your unit mid-combat, or before combat, obviously putting Deja Vu, you only get ambushed this turn, so they could just choose not to attack, but you still save your unit. This card is interesting. I think it could definitely lead to some blowouts, but once again, 4 is tough, and you kind of need that semi-perfect storm to make it. Maybe not. What do you think, John?
I think time, and especially if you go like time and primal, like I think you'll end up with bigger units and killer effects and stuff like that in play, and like some nice summon effects at common in time, like Sarasaur and things like that. I think it's a very interesting card. I mean, I had somebody in a game just a couple hours ago just completely destroy me with this card. They actually like windvoked it like mid combat kind of thing, and they had like
Mm-hmm.
an insane killer unit. Like I just got destroyed. But it takes some specific board presence for it to just really shine. So it's not just gonna always be good, and it's not easy to hold up for. But yeah, this is a really interesting card. I do like it. But I don't think it's like
C
a bomb or
minus?
anything. No, I think it's at least a C, like C plus maybe.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's a pretty like like I said, in time you're already kind of playing some cards that I think work well with this card.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Fair enough. All right. C plus. We'll go C plus with Deja Vu.
All right.
All right, John. Why don't you tell us about Cive, Civ, Desert Herder?
Civ, I have no idea what's correct.
Yeah, we never know until we hear until somebody plays it in a constructed event and the announcers, the devs say what the name is. We have no idea. So
Half
let's
the
go with
time
Civ,
devs
Desert
are
Herder.
different though, like between themselves. So who knows?
Fair.
All right. So Civ Desert Herder is 4 triple time, 3/2 hero. It's an exile, and it has revenge, and also contract 2. Play a 1/1 Deadly Scorpion or give a unit killer. I really like this card. Like the triple time is like the obvious downside here, but like so you can't splash it, right? But I don't care if this comes down a little late. If I'm playing time, she's definitely making my deck. Like this effect is really good, right? You can, when you play her, you can give killer to herself, and then just trade her off right then and there. And then when she comes back out with with Destiny from from the revenge, she already has killer, and then you can give another unit still in play killer as well. So she's just like value town. Um, I don't think you do the Deadly Scorpion very often, but I mean, if you need to stabilize with her, that's like a way to do it. Like if you're kind of getting beat down and your opponent's like wide with dorks, maybe that's the play. Once in a blue moon, she'll still go back in your deck, and you can, try again when she comes back. But yeah, I think this card is solid. I'd give her like a B.
Yep. Everything you just said is 100% right. I like her a lot as well. So B for Civ Desert Herder. I think you did a great job breaking it down, my man.
Thanks.
Next up, Kuno Chronomancer is a 4/4 hero, mage at rare for 5 time, ambush, and then contract 3, put a card from your void on top of your deck. So not a From Beyond, right? Or was it Behold? No, what is it? Beyond. What's the 3 cost? Put a card back, give a void bound. Do you remember the time one?
Excavate is the one I can think
No.
of. It's like 1 card.
Oh yeah. I guess that is closer to Excavate because the other one puts it into your hand, I think. It's so funny too. I guarantee if I didn't ask you the name of that card, you would have known the name of it. But anywho, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like this card. I mean, I think it has ambush. I think that kind of justifies the extra power. Instead of getting a 4/4/4, you're paying an extra power to be able to kill something on the way in or kind of surprise your opponent with it, right? And by the time it comes down, there may be something relevant in your void that you want to put on the top of your deck. It isn't card advantage, obviously, and then it is contract
Well, it
3,
can
so yeah, okay, yeah, I guess,
in
yeah,
this
good
format,
point.
it
Yeah,
definitely can be.
yeah, I like this guy. I think he's solid. I don't know. Is there any like super jinky or corner case like awesomeness that I'm missing? I mean, obviously he works well with revenge cards too, right?
Yeah, you know, Destiny revenge cards already in your void going on top are great, especially when you've already buffed them with like killer and things like that. Just putting a Winvoke spell back on top of your deck can be insane,
Mhm.
or sometimes maybe the busted card you already Winvoked
Yeah,
that
true.
wasn't in your deck to begin with. And then yeah, like the 4/4 is chunky enough that it'll eat something, uh, you know, on ambush, right? Maybe trade, but hopefully eat something. So like it even can help you stabilize. I like this guy uh, quite a bit. Like it does require, you know, to get the contract going, you have to have certain things of, you know, going on. Maybe something got milled or whatever, or the game's long enough where you have some good choices in your void, and you
Or if
have
you're
easy
Xenon,
drops
if
yet.
you're yeah, exactly. If you're Xenon, you eavesdropped them and you just played their best card.
Yeah,
Nice.
if you can eavesdrop them, right? Yeah. Now, if you're playing this with Primal, people are already kind of going to be on the lookout for, you know, Clorics and things like that. So, you know, try not to get wrecked. But if you're not, I think the big ambush unit can really surprise people. Um, so I think it's pretty solid. Like it's like maybe a B minus B.
Yeah, I think it's fine with a B. I can go a B on this guy. I think you're
Yeah,
never
he had 4
disappointed.
bombs. He was good.
Yeah. Plus, I just noticed that he's probably the set of hands in Deja Vu.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that. You are correct. Yeah, I think exactly.
Yeah, the gloves kind of give it away. I was like, wait, he's not playing with coins, but the gloves look the hand gestures look the same. Next up is Evelina, Valley's Guardian. She is a 4/3 dinosaur explorer. Thank God they got the tribal thing right. There's a dinosaur and there's a human riding it, so it makes sense. For 5 time. She has charge, she has inscribe, she has valor. When Evelina hits the enemy player, create and draw a 5/5 dinosaur with overwhelm. Man, is it too much to say she's like an A minus? I
I think it
know.
is. I think it is
She
too
just
much.
she does everything, you know. If you get stuck on power, you just inscribe her, right? You obviously don't want to, but you can in a pinch. She has valor, which makes her difficult to block. She has charge, so once again you can surprise your opponent, right? And then she's card advantage. As soon as she hits the opponent one time, she kind of replaced herself. Yeah, I like her a lot. She's probably the weakest at blocking, right? A 4/3 for 5 is not exciting on blocks. But other than that, yeah, I think she's very powerful. It can really snowball the game for your opponent. Yeah, I like her at A minus.
I'm more like a B on her. I've played her a bunch of times now, and the number of times that like I didn't have double time right on 5, you know, to play her.
Yeah, but that's you being greedy though. You
Well,
like 3-color greed.
I do, but that's not the only issue. It's like if you're getting beat down, she's on defense, and they can remove the 3 butt with so many things. So she's
Mm-hmm.
really bad, like at helping you stabilize, like really bad. Um, the fact that she is inscribed brings her up from like a B minus for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like if you're so she's like she's good if you're on the attack, and but like it's really hard to then get to the point where you're even playing these 5/5s. Honestly, um, yeah. So I think she's good, but I don't think she's A level. Honestly,
See, and like I've also seen people sacrifice a unit just to not give you the 5/5. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
they have a 3/3 in play, and they're like, well, I don't want to give you a 5/5, so I guess I'll just eat this. So that I mean, even if they kill her the subsequent turn, she's still got 2 cards out of them. But I'll trust you. I trust your judgment on that, and it makes sense. Like the math checks out. So okay, so would you say B or B plus?
I think like B, maybe B plus because she has Inscribed. That definitely makes her a little more flexible. Like
Okay.
you're definitely playing her in any time deck because of the Inscribe.
Okay. So B for Evelina. Next up is Deafening Stampede. This is a spell for 6 triple time. Silence all enemy units. Your units get charge, deadly, endurance, and overwhelm this turn. Like, I wish it was a fast spell so you could use it as a combat trick, honestly, but I guess that would be too overpowered.
Maybe for legendary, I don't know if it would, honestly.
Yeah, a legendary and at 6. I don't know. If it gave your guys even a +1/+0 or +1/+1, I think I'd be a lot happier with this card. That being said, like you need it. This card really shines at a board stall. I don't think it's gonna help you win any games that you weren't gonna already win, and it feels like, I mean, I guess if they're beating you down with flyers, then it can kind of save you. But I don't know. I almost want to give this card. This card's probably an F, right?
I played this once in a deck and it was not good. I like it reads like like you want it to be like a Behold the Truth effect. And
Mm-hmm.
Behold is so much better.
Yeah.
Like so much better because it gives stats.
Yeah, like the charge is a joke because this thing
Yes.
costs 6. So you know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Play a 2/1 and then
Like,
give it charge? Like
The
whoop de
only way the
do.
charge comes up is if you just destinied something off the top.
Yeah, I don't. And then, once again, yes, deadly plus overwhelm is busted combo, but that means that you already have big units on the board. So once again, there's a chance that you're already winning. Yeah. All right. So F for Deafening Stampede. John, why don't you tell us about Expedition Gear?
All right, this is one of the better rares in the set, and it's only a single pip. It's 6 in one time, which means I think you try and splash this card any chance you get. So it's Expedition Gear, 6 in a time relic. Your units have +1/+1, so it's like a Horn of Plenty effect. But wait, there's more. When you play a unit without battle skills, it gets +1/+1. Contract 6, play a 1/1 Explorer and a 1/3 Trail Runner with charge. So when you play this with the contract, essentially you're playing a 3/3 and a 2/4 that has charge. So it's like, Horn of Plenty that plays its own, dudes. And then after this is in play, like that a lot of your units in draft don't have battle skills, and the ones that do, still get +1/+1. But like this goes so good with just even dorky cards like what's the one that makes two Gren? I said it earlier. I can't remember the name now. The one that makes like two
Rescue.
yeah, Grenin Rescue. Like makes like 2/3/3s for 2. That's like insane. Yeah, this is like you know a great top end for any draft deck. Period. Like Time has some good inscribes that tend to go relatively late. So I think you can find a way to splash this basically anytime you happen to get past one of these or open one because of the single pip. Like it's one of the few rares we've seen with that's like single pip that's worth splashing for. And yeah, it's just a very powerful effect. And like even if you basically have no board presence, suddenly whatever dork you have left is much bigger, and then it like makes its own dorks. It's great.
Yep, it kind of helps pay off that risk that you take by taking a turn off. Instead, it still helps you develop. Yeah. What'd you give it?
I guess I didn't grade it. Like like a minus. Maybe
Ooh,
an A. Like
that's
I love this
wow.
card.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
it helps. It stabilizes. It helps you push, to victory. Like if you already have a board, helps break a board stall. Like it does all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, B plus,
Okay.
A minus.
I kind of still want to give it a B plus, right? Because
Okay.
I mean, you are adding to the board. Well, I guess you're right. I guess you're even across 2 units, like you said, you're still adding what 7 worth of stats for. Yeah, all right. I can go A minus. It is good. It is good. Yeah, all right. A minus for Expedition Gear. Next up, Gift of Prophecy. This is a spell for 6 time, Voidbound. Draw a single faction Fire, Justice, Primal, and Shadow card from your Void and give them void bound. So it doesn't get you time because you're playing time, etc., etc. F.
Yeah, F. I
All right,
honestly I
cool.
didn't notice until just now that it didn't give you a time thing back. What the heck is that?
Yeah, yeah, whatever. F. You're trying to assemble the ultimate combo, and it's just gonna take you forever. So just F. Don't worry about it. You rather just play anything else at that point.
Yes.
Next up, oh man, I love this card. I loved it when it's spoiled. I haven't gotten to draft it yet, but I played it in Constructor already, and it's glorious. Bodhi and Rocks Forever, and that name is so apt. They're literally back. Our favorite giant married couple. 6/6 hero, giant at legendary for 7, quadruple time, but check this out. They have Inscribe. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But hold on, it gets better. Can't be killed if they are your only unit. And I can confirm, literally, other than silencing them, there's no way to kill them. Their health can go below 0, they will not die. Your opponent can make you sacrifice a unit, they will not die. It is so good. When you inscribe Bodhi and Rocks, put a copy of them into the top 7 cards of your deck with a +2/+2. So you can just keep inscribing them until you have enough power to play them. And then you play them and you just sit back and ride them to victory. Now, they don't stop you from dying. So if you're on the back foot and your opponent's getting in there and they have a go wide board, they're going to block whatever they send at you, but everything else is still going to get in there. So they're not an end all be all. But man, if you're at any kind of parity, you inscribe this thing twice, they're going to come down as a 10/10. They don't have any battle skills, but of course we are in a format where you can give them battle skills. So, I don't know. I like this card a lot. I think this card's a solid A. It is a 7. It is hard to play, but it helps play itself, and it smooths out your curve. I like this card a lot. Am I wrong for thinking it's an A, John?
I think so.
Okay.
I like it in constructed decks where you can like build around the whole can't be killed thing and just like spam board wipes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of situations in limited where that can't be killed is actually a thing.
Okay.
But I mean, it is a chonker that helps, like you mentioned, helps it play itself. So I think it's pretty good still in limited. It it does get just completely destroyed by like a 1-cost permafrost or whatever, which is not ideal. But that's any big thing, right? It's I think it's pretty good. I think A might be pushing it.
Okay. So what, B plus?
B plus, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay. B plus.
And the size of the thing definitely.
I mean, that's the other thing to me as well, right? You could just literally keep inscribing this thing and just keep making sure you hit your power the whole way up the curve.
Yeah, like, yeah, it can be a little awkward though. Like I have gotten to play this in draft. Like it's good, but it's sometimes you keep it keeps putting itself right on top, and you actually just want something you can play.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I guess it does eat up a draw. Yeah, fair.
It's a little random.
Yeah, fair. I can get behind that. All right, so B plus for Bodhi and Rocks Forever. That's time, and time looks pretty sweet, man. A bunch of bangers.
Yeah, I very much like a few of these cards.
All right, going into Justice, we have Argenport Noble. This is a 3/2 cleric at rare for 2 double J lifesteal, and then contract 3, silence an enemy unit or relic with cost 3 or less. Yeah, this card's great, man. It gets flyers out of the sky. It has lifesteal, so it gets you back in the game. It hits the aforementioned Brigade Hall. That is a phenomenal card. Yeah, I like this guy quite a bit. What do you think, John?
I do too. It's like it's not the easiest to cast card for a 2-drop because the double pips, but like a lot of times you don't have something to silence by then anyway, so it's like more it's more like a 3 or 4 drop anyway, like at best. So, but it has lifesteal, so you don't mind the kind of lower stats. There's a lot of support in the format for making this even better than its baseline. I think it's solid. Maybe like a B minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B minus. I think that's fair. I think B minus is fair because there are gonna be some times where the contract doesn't matter. Like you're just gonna need the light. I don't know. Yeah, I think B minus is fine with Argenport Noble. Next up, Combray Law Mage. This is a 2/3 soldier at legendary for 2 green. Valor. The enemy player can't play more than one unit per turn, one spell per turn, and one attachment per turn. That's not really a limited thing, right? Like this is
It
just a
kind
two,
of
three for
is.
two. You
There's
think
some,
so?
yeah, there's some cards that that play multiple units. Grenadin Rescue, what's Expedition Gear, what's the time uncommon as well. Marezin's Legacy, like so in those cases it only lets them play like the first unit. And then if the opponent is, playing Revenge
Oh,
Cells,
and then that triggers both the spell and the unit, right?
yeah, so they're just
Okay,
like,
okay, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
there's some. It's not just completely flavor text, and like sometimes they want to like double, play two. They wanted to play two units on whatever turn, and they
Hmm.
can't. Like it definitely comes up, and like 2/3 Valor for two is like a pretty good stat line, honestly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Rowhammer a lot, and that's a 2/3 Valor for three. That thing can attack into a lot of stuff that a 2/3 normally wouldn't be able to.
Hmm.
This one doesn't have endurance, but like yeah, it's a little hate bear that can actually get in there. Another hard to cast two drop though, but I think if it doesn't come out until three, I think it's still okay. Um, Probably another B minus,
Oh wow,
maybe
okay.
C plus.
I'm thinking C plus. Like you're definitely right. I completely forgot the spells that make unit aspect of it. I completely forgot that. I was just taking into account most times and limit it up until you get to the late game. You're really only doing one thing per turn, and then sometimes it's playing a unit and having a combat trick. But you're right. I could see that. So yeah, all right. I can go C plus on my mage.
All right.
Um, yeah, I like that. This card is just already seeing all kinds of constructed play, and I think it's just as powerful and limited. I think I've died to her twice already. This is Helena Sky Guide. She is a 3/4 unseen bird at rare for 3 green green. Flying, endurance, contract 3, give another unit +3/+4 flying and endurance this turn. So she allows one of your units to get in there for damage and still be back to block. She is a flyer herself. She allows you to break any stun effects that your opponent might have played on your units. She's great. I like her, and she's ahead of the curve, even if you just play her on curve. 3/4 flying endurance for 3 is fantastic. I like her quite a bit. What do you think, John?
Yeah, she just does it all right.
Mm-hmm.
Can break stun effects surprisingly out of nowhere while pushing a crazy amount of damage. Like right when she comes down, yeah, like you said, she's like one of the biggest flyers with her stat line for such an efficient cost. Anyway, she's great. Like possibly just an A.
Yep, I'm good with that. I can go with A. I can completely go with A for sure. Oh man, can you imagine if you deja vu her? Your opponent just can't attack you.
Yeah,
Well, I guess they have to play it that turn, which is unfortunate. But God, that would be so busted. Like play her, give another unit flying, block two things. Oh,
super ambush.
yeah, sweet. So A for Elena Skyguard. John, why don't you tell us about Orion Scepter?
All right, like I've I've seen a lot of people poo poo on this card, and I don't know if it's just my pet bad card of the set, but I've drafted this like 7 times now, and I get 7 wins every single time. Um, like I love this card. Uh, I know it's a little hard to cast. Oh, sorry, Jay's up here making some noise. Sorry, um, but all right, let me read what the card does here. It's three triple justice, Orient Scepter. It's a relic. When you play a unit, it gets Aegis. If it already has Aegis, it gets +1/+1. Ultimate, pay 9, and the enemy player can never play spells again.
I gotta say, just a side note, I love the way that Direwolf like builds these cards because they just put that little extra spice in it. You know, they can easily say your opponent can't play spells anymore, but it's like they could never play spells again. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like trolling with just the text. Like, and I say, it's like I just want to push the button. Like every time this is my deck, I just want to click that ultimate button so bad.
Yeah,
Um,
you
Probably don't
feel
even
so
need to
much
do it,
safer in combat.
but yeah, like once that happens, you just like everything is suddenly a known quantity. Like, and they were already having trouble playing their spells because of all your Aegis like spam. Uh, yeah, I love this card. Like, yeah, it's a 3 cost do nothing relic or whatever, but like for 3 cost, like taking turn 3 off, you're not just dead. if you get it down a little late, maybe you can play, you know, a 2 or 3 drop, maybe a evasive unit the same turn. And like it just has this eventual, you know, it doesn't give inevitability itself, but it feels like it does because of the way it plays out. Or at least has for me. Like I really like this card. Like I can't give it like an A or anything because I just sound like a crazy person. But I mean, hot take. Like I think this thing's great. What do you think, Jedi?
So I have, I'll be honest with you, I've only played against it one time, and the Aegis was enough to irritate me because I think I was running fire, so all my Searing Fists were just sitting there. I was like, gosh darn it. Um, but they did win, I think, if I remember correctly, they did win before they got to quote unquote push the button. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
they
it's a
don't.
liability for sure, right? Because you want to play it as soon as possible, and sometimes you can't get ran over, so you have to have the discipline of not playing it at that point.
Right.
But I mean, it combos really well with Revenge, etc., etc.
It
So
does.
yeah, I like it. I'll back you up. What grade did you want to give it?
Like maybe just a B? Is
I
that too
think that's
much?
fair. I think
Okay.
that's fair. Like
I'm
it
literally
def
7-0 on 7-win runs with this card in my deck. Like
Jeez, it must be
7
that
times I've
nice.
drafted it, and all
Yeah.
7 have gone the distance.
Yeah.
So
All right, fair enough. I mean, you can't stop that kind of, numbers and fact check. All right. So B for Aurine Scepter. Fair enough. I'll take your word for it. Next up is Summary Judgment. This is a fast spell at rare for 4 green. Inscribe. Kill each unit with 5 strength or more. I personally like this card. I think it's fine. If you have a board full of, if you have the better board, you can just ascribe it, and if you don't, you can use it. Not necessarily a board wipe. I don't think it's ever going to be a board wipe, but you can snag at the very least. It could be a vanquish, snag one thing. It is a fast spell, right? So you can
hmm
kind of combo off if your opponent uses a pump spell. I think this card has some application for is a lot, no doubt about that. So I don't know. I'd probably put this card at like a C, a C plus. I think it's and then if your opponent is like a time or fire and they're playing the captains and they have a
hmm
huge board, all of a sudden this definitely goes a long way towards equalizing you. So it could be a 2 or 3 for 1 on its own. So I like this card. I think I'm good with like a C, maybe a C plus. What do you think, John?
I'm definitely higher on it because it has inscribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
it definitely just goes in any deck because of the inscribe, and I mean we play overthrow for 2 pips of justice for 4. It's like
Mm-hmm.
comparable to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean I'd say overthrow is like a B. Like I think this is at least a B with inscribe. Like even if your opponent's like a go like a low to the ground aggressive strategy, like eventually they might play captain like you said, or just if they use a combat trick, it'll suddenly be activated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's pretty playable fast removal. Like
Okay.
B or B minus is good enough.
I'll go B minus because obviously you can't completely control when you want to use it, and then sometimes it will hurt you a little bit. So I'll go B minus with
Okay.
Summary Judgment. All right, Final Balance is a legendary spell for 5 quad, or was it fifth? What?
Quintuple.
Quintuple. Is that? Yeah, that makes sense. Quintuple Justice. If there are an if there are an even number of units, they each get double damage until the end of your next turn. If there is an odd number of units, kill them all. This counts all units, yours and your opponent's. Whatever. F.
Yeah.
John? Okay, cool.
It's too many pips. And it's too situational, and I did actually have this in a draft deck like yesterday or the day before just for science, and it's like basically as wacky as it looks. The one time I tried to board wipe, I was like, oh, I actually got the pips. It's like
They
a
devoured.
yeah. They literally I can't remember if it was devour or just killed one of my units or whatever to make it not the right number of units suddenly, but like it's respondable in that way, so you can't even
Hmm.
rely on it as a board wipe. It's just enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This card now is on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Why don't you tell us about Hojin?
Yeah, I love this card. Hojin, beloved son. He's a 5 cost double justice paladin, 4/4. that line, has Inscribe, and at the end of your turn, double the strength and health of one of your units with less strength than Hojin. So it's a for 5, the same turn you play it, with no response window, as long as it's like post combat, will double, you know, the stats of another unit. So like,
3/3 becomes a 6/6.
yeah, it's great. And there's like some playable Aegis units in Justice, or if you pair it with Primal, there's even more available. So yeah, like doubling the stats of just an Aegis unit is insane. The bigger time units are hard to double, but the good thing is like, if Hojin makes it a turn or two, and maybe even starts getting into some combat, like your opponent's going to try anything they can to remove him. And sometimes, you're playing Justice, so you're playing like combat tricks, Finest Hour, Find the Moments, things like that. When you buff Hojan, well, suddenly, when he gets to the end of the turn effect, his strength is much higher than maybe that other unit you've already doubled. So you can like double it again to something just absolutely ridiculous. So I think this card is insanely good, and it also has Inscribe. So if you're just kind of getting beat down and not hitting your power drops, he can even help you do that. I think he's just great, like easy A, I think, for me.
Yep, I agree. Same thing. He turns your 2 drops into 4/4s, and then they, once again, yeah, he's just great. He carries weapons well. You can leave him back on defense. He's still going to do a great job. So that is a solid A for Hojin, beloved son. Next up is Spire Loyalist. This is a 4/6 Valkyrie rare for 6 Justice. Flying, Inscribe, Lifesteal, and Valor. So upgraded Elder of the Fourth Tree Elder. Yeah, I like this card a lot. 6 is a little much, but the lifesteal kind of helps you get there, right? It doesn't have endurance. It got Valor instead, which could be better, could be worse. I like this card. I think it's a solid A.
Yeah, I'm cool with A. I mean, it could be like an A. It would be an A minus maybe, except it has Inscribed too.
Yeah, exactly. I like that insurance policy on it. So yeah, A
Every time I play
for.
this, I do miss the endurance. Like, I feel like if it had endurance, it would just be like A plus.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you can easily, because it doesn't, you have to make the decision on whether it's better to attack or to leave it back on defense. Versus Fortune Elder, you're just like swing. Fair enough. Next up, Svetya Dauntless is a 6/6 hero Scion legendary for 7 green. Valor. Your other Justice units have +1/+1. When Svetya attacks, play another random Justice unit from your deck. I mean, you can grab a 2-drop, but it's still for free, and she buffs them. Valor makes it so it's difficult to block her, right? 7 is quite a bit, though, and she doesn't have an Aegis this time, so you could play her and she could just die. That being said, it is limited, and hopefully you had another excuse. I don't know, I still like her. I think, I don't know, probably still just like a B, I think. The 7 cost is a little prohibitive. She can get chump blocked quite a bit.
Yeah. Even
I
if she's
think,
getting chump black, she at least puts a unit into play
yeah.
on attacks. Like, doesn't replace herself when you play her, but buffs your board already, right? So she has an effect when you summon her. I think she's very good. The 7 definitely brings it down just a little bit. I've Windvoked her. That's a easy choice on the Windvokes. When you already have a board and still like you're usually playing 2 or 3 factions, right? So eventually you do run out of hits for her to even bring out. Like, I've had that come up with her in play before, but yeah, she's very good. I think maybe even a B plus.
Okay. All right. B plus for Svetya Dauntless. All right, John, tell me what you think about this card, because, I mean, it's expensive, but it's a powerhouse. We're talking about Stormholt Plating, and this is a +6/+8 relic weapon at Legendary for 8 quadruple justice. Inscribe, and then your avatar can attack twice. When you inscribe Stormholt Plating, gain 2 armor. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think this is great, right? I already like the 7 cost single pip common relic weapon with Inscribe. Like, I play like 1 or 2 of those in every Justice deck in the format, basically. And half the time you just play it as power, and half the time it manages to come out as a relic weapon. Well, this one has like insane stats. The turn you play it gets to just eat two things, probably the only two things that were able to attack you, and then you get to do it again next turn. On an open board, it just deals 12 to the face. I think it's just all upside because it has inscribe, and when you do play it as power, you gain some armor as well. So I think this card's very good. It's not easy to get to 8, but you shouldn't feel bad just inscribing it early game. And if you happen to top deck it, you're gonna really break a board stall with it. Um, like just because the A cost, maybe A is too much, maybe A minus, but I mean it's right up there.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like everything about this card is absolutely great. It was just the cost I find to be quite prohibitive. So, but I'll trust you. We'll go A minus on Stormholt Plating, and that's Justice, man. Justice looks pretty darn strong, honestly.
Yeah, easy best faction for rares so far.
Next up is Primal, and we're going to start off with a banger here. This is Feral Serpent. This is a 4/3 Serpent at rare for 3 blue, flying. Then contract 3, give Feral Serpent +1 health and Aegis permanently. I like this card a lot. On curve, this card seems really busted to me. Like, it's difficult and limited for someone to interact with a 4/4 flying Aegis that early in the game, personally. Yeah, I like this card quite a bit, and I think it tussles pretty well in the air. I don't think there's much that can deal with it. Yeah, if you do play it on curve with the contract, that means you're probably not going to do anything on your 4th turn, but this probably gives you a decent amount of tempo there. I don't know, I'm probably like B plus for Feral Serpent. What do you think, John?
At least a B plus. Like,
Oh, you're in the A category?
I could be, yeah. Like, on curve, it's insane. Late game, it's
Still
gonna
good.
be the biggest thing in the air, basically, and it's just so hard to interact with. Now, I mean, like against Stone Scar, it can die a little easier. Most of those decks are playing the bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like it's going to be a 2-for-1, and in the meantime, it's just going to be beating them down in the air. Yeah, it's
Okay.
very
I was trying to be a little conservative, but yeah, if you want to go A minus, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
This
let's
card
do
is all right. A minus for Feral Serpent. I like this card quite a bit. All right, next up is Magnetize. This is a curse at rare for 3 blue. Stun the cursed unit for as long as it is cursed. Okay, that's that. Did they always put that text like that?
I think this is like the only.
It seems a little odd to me.
Yeah, it is, and I haven't actually seen this come up, but I still think you can just break this by making something endurance. Like,
Yeah, you can.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, because I've gotten it Helena in constructed, so
Cool. Yeah, I thought
and then
somebody was trying to convince me otherwise the other day. I was like, I don't think so.
weapons can't be played while this unit is stunned. So great flavor there. It says weapons, so it includes regular weapons and relic weapons. So this is permafrost with sometimes just flavor text and sometimes upside. Sad part is you won't know because obviously they'll just rot in your opponent's hand. So yeah, I think this card's fine. It's just, I mean, it can be efficient removal, right? If it just takes out like a 4, 5, 6 cost unit. So I don't know. I think I'm okay with just a B for Magnetize. Sometimes it's removal with upside, and I find it to be fairly efficient, right? We've
Yeah.
paid more and less for removal.
It can be downside too, though, because like if you're playing Primal, I don't know. I find a lot of times I'm playing it with like Justice or whatever, and it's like, sometimes it's shutting off my own weapons too.
Mm.
You really like don't want to be playing mini weapons if this is in your deck
Mm.
because it's annoying. And like I think this format has more like ways to grant endurance and things than most formats, as well as more like sacrifice effects. Um, like I find that things like manacles and permafrost in general are a little less reliable than like in previous formats. Um, and yeah, this is like double pips, so you don't really want to splash it, and like it's 3 instead of 1 like perma. So I don't know, I'm a little lower on it, maybe like a B minus.
Okay, that works for me.
Okay.
B minus for Magnetize. Tell us about Nullify, John.
Okay, well, it's a 3-in-1 primal fast spell. Has Inscribe, and it says negate an enemy spell or curse played on the enemy turn. Yeah, I'm like, this is like a feels bad pack one pick one, but it's definitely a playable card. Honestly, I think, if I'm in primal, I really don't mind playing like a backlash in general in this format. Like, there's some
Mm.
very powerful spells that you want to have, a negate effect for sometimes. So the downside here is like a lot of those spells will occur on your turn. So like this doesn't like hit everything, but it's also just a power in your deck. So like the deck building cost is a little lower. Um, yeah, I think it's like playable, but like medium. Has Inscribed though, like I just said. So I don't know, like probably say like a C plus for this.
I don't know. I'm kind of. I think the fact that you can't play it on your turn is kind of a thing, right? Because then you don't have that insurance or that warm safety net when you go into combat, being like, all right, if they have a trick, I have a response. You know what I mean?
No, but
The upside, it playing it being able to negate curses is an upside, I think, right? But I don't know. I think
like a
I'm closer
handful
to like
of
a C or a C minus, and plus three is not the most expensive, but it's also not the cheapest either.
okay,
Right? I don't know. I think I'm like C minus. What do you think?
let's go C.
Okay, we'll go an even C with Nullify. I think there's sometimes. I mean, I lost to it. I got blown out by it. So I mean, there's that for sure. I think the
Yeah,
power level is there, but I also think it's definitely not as smooth and clean as Backlash.
right. It definitely like it's just that it's a power, so it just makes the
Yeah.
deck more often.
Yeah.
It the
No,
spells that
fair,
hit
fair. You're right. You're
are
right.
sometimes like some of the Winvokes, and then like if they're doing like find the moments and things like that are kind
Hmm.
of what you're going for with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Good call. Next up is Spared Fate. This is a spell at rare for 4 blue blue. Give one of your units flying, then deal 3 damage to each unit without flying. So of note, you have to have a unit in play to play this, and it only hits non-flying units. So their units that have flying aren't gonna aren't going to die to this. Um, Man, giving a unit permanently flying though, and still clearing out some of the garbage from the board is pretty strong. It's a rare, so they're really not going to play around it. I don't know. It is a little situational though.
Hmm.
3 does help kill quite a few things. You kind of want to do this pre-combat, but I could see you doing it post-combat. If you have 1 or 2 flyers, you play this on your 1 ground guy, and then you do some work. So I think the upside is there, but the floor is pretty low as well. I don't know where you at on it, John.
Yeah, you said it great. Like this isn't just a windmill slam card. It can be very awkward in your games, like especially if your opponent's just oops all flyers deck or something, then it just basically doesn't do much. Especially like I've had this in my deck where my opponent is very good at removing my units, and then like I just never get to play this, and I was relying on it to stabilize, and it just never I can never even cast it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it can definitely be a little awkward, but sometimes it can just be amazing. So it's a high variance card, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
so like maybe like a C plus for like the average case scenario,
Yeah,
maybe a
I'm good
B
with that.
minus.
No, I'm good with that. I'm good with
Okay.
C plus. Yeah, it's just there's a lot that goes into this card, and then maybe the one card that you want to get off the board is their flyer, so then it's super awkward as well. So yeah. All right, next up is Churganth Ice Regent. This is a 5/4 Dragon at Legendary for 5 triple blue. She has flying. When you deal spell damage, Churgath gets a +1 strength. Contract 4, play a Numbing Cold and increase the damage of each spell in your deck by 1. So Numbing Cold is a curse that you play on the enemy unit, or the enemy, and then it automatically negates the next spell they play. You don't have the choice, it just does it. 5/4 flyer for 5. She is difficult to cast, but there's definitely some upside, and she pseudo protects herself Granted, it's numbing cold, so your opponent can just play like a pump spell to break it and then kill her. Um, Another thing to note, it doesn't add the strength equal to the damage you do. It just cares if you did damage. So something that pings 2 units will give her a +2 versus something like a caloric mix will only give her a +1. Just something to keep in mind because I made that mistake, I guess, when I first started playing her. That being said, I still like her. I think she's pretty solid. I don't know. She a B plus or an A minus? What do you think, John?
I think A minus. It would be an A except for the triple primal. I think brings it down just a smidge.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the best numbing cold formats because normally you'd run into like opponents playing things like Seek powers, right? It's like, well, okay, numbing
Oh
cold.
yeah,
I just have a Seek power. Who cares? Boom, it's gone, and then they just remove it. Well, no one's running Seek powers in this format. Like it's pretty rare. Most spells in most decks are
Well,
like
the
magical spells.
blueprints are uncommon, right?
Yeah, they're in the format. It's just like you almost never see them.
Yeah, because everyone has inscribe.
Yeah, you're fixing with dual faction powers and inscribes for the most part. Like, I mean, I play one maybe one every you know 10 to 15 decks. There's like one Seek power effect,
Mhm.
and honestly, I'm playing them because I'm 3+ factions, and having to burn that just to get this numbing cold out of the way is probably also annoying. So, yeah, I think she's very solid. I think A minus is fair.
Nice. Next up is Discover Talents. This is a this is a spell at legendary for 5 blue. Inscribe. Draw a spell or hero of your choice from your deck. So you're playing a legendary to go grab your bomb legendary. I mean, you're kind of high rolling at that point, right? I don't think this is worth a card in your deck. Granted,
Sure, it
it
is.
has inscribe, so I don't know. You have for me personally, I feel like I have to have a really good card in my deck to go grab this, so it's kind of a second copy of it. But it has inscribed, so worst case scenario, it's just a power, and then later in the game when you have the power to burn, you go grab it. So I think there's some upside there, but I still don't want to rate it too high. What do you think,
No,
John?
of course not. Like you said, you need another card for this to even matter. Um, like the fact that it gets any spell means you can, if this is a late game top deck and you have a high amount of power, you can just go grab like, you know, your best removal, best Windvoke, whatever, and it was just a power in your deck. So I think it's a very playable card. You probably don't have, it's like just for the spell a lot of times, like maybe you've already played your one hero or whatever in your deck, or maybe your hero is just a sad what's the 2/3 Yeti or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
and that's a good point too, right? Is it doesn't say unit, it says hero.
yeah,
So even then, sometimes your best unit you can't go get with this.
right. So hopefully you've got some nice Windvokes to grab or whatever, or even just, I mean, a find the moment might just be good enough in some boards. But yeah, I don't want to go too high on this either. Like I think C plus is fine.
Yeah, I'm good with the C. That's normally like I put dual power at C minus, and this is kind of a dual power, just not fixing its value, I guess. So I'll go an even C on Discover Talents.
Okay.
Next up, Thudrock. Lord Thudrock is back. This is a 4/3 Yeti at rare for 5 blue. Inscribe and then summon. You may exhaust another one of your units to play a snowman with strength and health equal to that unit's health. Man, I like this card. Like,
Yeah, me too.
you can get some pretty decent value when it comes into play. You are taking a unit off the board for sure, but you're immediately replacing it. And sometimes at an upgrade, if you're running like a 2/4 or a 1/5 or whatever, or if you're in the Legion, you have the 1/5 flyers that come down before this guy, the tower top, and then 4/3 with no special abilities when for 5 isn't the greatest, but I don't know, I like this guy. And then later in the game, you can copy your the Cloud Snapper or whatever, the 6/6, so you get another 6/6 plus this dude.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know.
essentially summoning like somewhere between like 6 and 10 stats for 5.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course it's just a straight up summon, so you're not even going into depth to do this. It combos well with bounce, etc., etc. Yeah, I like this guy. I don't know.
And it has inscribe, right?
Like, I guess the downside is obviously you need to have something on the board to exhaust and be in well, you're always going to be in a position to exhaust it because it makes the unit, so you're not going down a blocker or anything.
I think you're always like unless your board is literally empty, you're always going to be at least on rate or better on the stats for 5.
Yeah. Still, it's not super exciting.
B or something in that range is good.
Yeah, like B minus, right? Something like that. Like I think you're getting ahead, but 2 vanilla units may not be enough, right? So I mean, sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. I don't know. What do you think? B or B minus? I'll trust you.
I think B is good enough.
Okay.
Like the other awkward thing though is like if you're an aggressive deck, this guy gets a little worse because you can't attack with the unit. You have to take the turn off in that case. So I think he works best with. I mean, he has a primal card, so maybe you've got some flyers, and this guy can really help you clog up the board, and maybe even get a big ace base the next turn.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so B for Lord Thudrock. This has got to be one of my favoritely named cards in Eternal, man. Dynamite! Oh, it's so good. It is, and the artwork is great too, but it is a 7/6 dinosaur rare for 6 blue, and then perfect. Aegis and Overwhelm. I can't believe they gave like such a good well-rounded unit to freaking Primal instead of Time. It's crazy, but this card is absolutely great to me. It's a big beater that has Overwhelm, so it can't be chump blocked, and it has Aegis, so it doesn't just immediately die the turn you play it to your opponent's like 2 or 3 power removal. I think this card is fantastic. They can double block it and get in there, but you can have combat tricks or whatever. I like this card. I think it's like a B plus. But man, this is just such a well-designed card. I like everything about this card. And then
everything you said, man.
Yeah, it's got with Overwhelm, it's got higher attack or strength and health. Yeah, this is just a really well-designed card. This is phenomenal. So solid B plus for me. Are you right there, John?
Yeah, I agree. Like for it to go over that, it needs another card, right? Like wings.
Give it flying.
Some combat tricks. It's great stat line, great abilities.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Feels so good. All right, John, why don't you talk about Serpent Hive? I feel like this card has got your name all over it.
It does, yeah. I crafted one of these early, and I've dabbled with it and constructed. I like this card a lot as a power in my deck. It's a 6 and 4 pips of primal spell with inscribe. It says play 2 3/3 sky serpents with flying, and give up to 2 units flying this turn. And when you inscribe Serpent Hive, it deals 1 damage to an enemy player or sight. Sight doesn't really come up in limited ever, but it's it's a power in your deck that pings them for 1, so it can if you're in Feln, breaking that face Aegis that they might have definitely comes in handy. So you can eavesdrop them or whatever next turn, or the same turn, and then for 6 you're summoning, evasive 2 3/3 flyers. So it's like, if you're doing that, the rate is good, I think. And then like that turn you get to jump your 2 best attackers as well. I think this is a very solid card. And like, obviously the quadruple primal brings it down just a bit, but again, inscribe.
And it's hella powerful.
Yeah, it really is. So like I don't know about A range just because of the casting.
I think it is. I think it is, dude.
You think it is?
Honestly, okay. I think it is because like you're adding a lot to the board. You're getting an effect right away. It has an insurance policy and then inscribe, and the quad primal is a thing, but it's also 6, so it's not astronomical. Yeah, I think this card is an A. I think the sum of all its parts makes it an A. So
and the other thing is like, unlike some of these other cards we've talked about, this one doesn't require you to have anything in play for it to summon the 2 sky serpents, because it's like up to 2 units flying.
Yep.
Can be 0.
Yep.
I'm good with an A.
Yep, Serpent Hive is solid. And then our final primal card is Ice Bully. This is a 10/10 giant at legendary for 7 blue blue. Killer. When Ice Bully blocks or is blocked by a unit, give that unit revenge unless it has Valor. So I personally didn't like this card. Completely on theory crafting. It is going to kill something on the way in, but it's going to give it revenge. But our good friend and draft world champion Gunner told me that he has played against it and played with it, and both times the Ice Bully has won the game because you can't control when the revenge units come back, so sometimes they just never see them. So yeah, I guess I'll be higher on it. Where are you at on it, John?
Dude, I was right there with you. Like looking at this in previews or whatever, I was like, this can't be good, right? But yeah, no, I've also been there. I think my experience with the cards is lines up exactly with what Gunner was saying. Um, yeah, it's the stat line is insane, and it immediately gets rid of their biggest thing, no matter how big it is. Like it's not going to tussle with a 10/10. And
Mm-hmm.
like you just said, revenge is kind of random, right? And even if it literally comes right back, the 10/10 can still probably just attack right into it again. And if you have any kind of way to give
So,
this overwhelm and things like that, and
uh,
some tricks to go along with it, it's just good.
so one question: if the unit Destiny's back, right, and plays it, and Ice Bullet kills it again, it refreshes Revenge, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. And I mean, it is in Primal, right? Which means you have the saddle guy or whatever that can give it flying. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, yeah. If you can give Ice Bully some kind of evasion, flying overwhelm, whatever, the
Yeah.
stat line is just kind of insane.
All right. So what do we give it? Like a
Uh,
B, B plus?
yeah, that sounds fair, somewhere in there. Just because
Is it?
it does cost 7.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's in the A range? I have literally
I
never
don't
seen it on the
think it's in the
battlefield,
A
so I have no
range.
idea. Okay.
I think B plus maybe.
Okay. All right. B plus for Ice Boy. I mean, it does take some time, right? It doesn't win the game on the spot. So,
It can
all
really
right, fair
bust up a
enough.
board stall.
Yeah, that's Primal. Primal looked pretty good too. I think for the first time we didn't see any like complete like duds in Primal.
Yeah, yeah. All the other colors had some duds, right? I don't think
Yeah,
there
that's
was
pretty
one here.
impressive. Look at Direwolf giving some love to Primal. All right, next up we have Shadow starting off with Saloon Masker. This is a spell at rare for 2 Shadow Shadow. Each unit gets -1/-1 this turn, and then contract 3, they get -1/-4 this turn instead. Yeah, this card is great. It's a board wipe that you can control. You can do it if your opponent has a bunch of small things, you want to keep your things alive, you can do it for -1/-1. You can do it post combat, or you can do it pre-combat. And like if your opponent is just running you over, you're behind the curve, you can just contract this out early to stabilize. I like this card quite a bit. It's not an end-all be-all because it is just -4 on the top end, so I think that stops it from being like our usual kind of B plus range for harsh rule. That being said, I don't know. I think I still kind of want to put it at B, maybe a B minus. What do you think, John?
No, I think B or B plus is still fair for this because of its like cost flexibility.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
harsh rule only comes down on 5. This can come down on 3. If your opponent has already just vomited their hand all over the battlefield, right? Like 1 drop, 2 drop, 1 drop, 3 drop. Like if they had like 4 units, 5 units already out by turn 4, you can still just get them with this, like a turn or two before you would have been able to with something like harsh rule.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
like,
So
yeah, being able to come down earlier means you don't have to like wait as long either to snap off the board wipe and lose some of your own units or take more damage or anything like that. I think it's pretty dang good. B or B plus.
okay. Nice. All right. B plus for Saloon Massacre. I'm good with that. Severin the Inevitable is next. Why don't you talk to us about this guy, John?
All right, 7 is a 3 double shadow 0/1 nightmare mage, has revenge. And also, when you play a non-nightmare unit, you may take 2 debt to give it +1 attack and revenge. Then it becomes a nightmare. Yeah, Severin is, you know, he is a nightmare to deal with. Like, yeah, like he's easy to
I
kill.
see what you did there.
Yeah, with the stat line, but man,
Mm-hmm.
when this thing hits the board, you just get this sinking feeling because it only costs 3. A lot of times they can go ahead and get that immediate value by playing something alongside it, 2 or 3 drop or something. And yeah, if this guy stays in play for any number of turns, his name Severin Inevitable really rings true, right? This adds some inevitability. There's a lot of tricky stuff you can do with buffing units, with those contract uncommons and things like that. And if something already has revenge, it can, when it comes back with Destiny, he can then give it revenge again, as long as he wasn't the reason it had revenge to begin with. I've played against him. He's kind of insane. Does require, it's kind of like it reminds me a little bit of that the Orion Scepter, right? Like you kind of have to take turn 3 off, right? But it adds some kind of inevitability to the rest of your deck's game plan that I really like. So I think B plus, maybe even A range for this guy. Like he's kind of hard to rate.
Yeah, I think I'm good with B. Like he augments your deck in a good way, but it doesn't immediately impact the board when he comes down. Unfortunately, the one time I win-voked him, I had to sack him to keep him alive. I think I gave revenge to one of my units, and I had to eat him to kind of survive because my opponent was beating me down. I don't know, probably like a. I mean, he's also a unit, so it means he could be highly interacted with as well, right?
Yeah, at least he has revenge himself.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
It's like already going to eat 2 removals if he comes back.
Yeah. You do take that. I don't know. He is actually. You're right. He's very hard to rate. I don't know. Yeah, sure. I guess we can go with a B with a disclaimer that we may modify this towards the end of the season, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like I said, I've already played with and against him, and he's just been. I think there was one time my opponent played him where it didn't just win him the game because I was already just beating him down. It's like against an aggro deck, you can get run over still.
Yeah.
But if it's any kind of mid range to late game kind of thing, he's just it's so much value.
Okay. All right. So B for Severin Inevitable. Next up is the Rat. What? Huh? Next is the Rat King. This is a 3/2 Druid at rare for 3 Shadow. Once per turn, you may pay 1 and sacrifice another unit to give an enemy unit -1/-1 permanently. Summon, play 2 1/1 rats that can't block. This guy's great. 3/2 for 2 is already about curve. The fact that he allows you to go wide if you're a Stone Scar aggressive deck is great. The fact that he already kind of fuels his own ability by giving you 2 rats to sack is fantastic. He goes great again with any additional sack fodder. I think this guy is great. It helps you kind of mitigate some stun effects, can pick off some flyers, can make a larger unit more manageable. I think the flexibility that this guy offers you, sometimes your opponent just straight up can't play something because Rat King is sitting on the board. I like this guy a lot. That being said, I don't think he's going to win the game on his own. He is a bit of a build around, but not quite enough to give him just a build around grade because he's good in any deck. So I think he's a solid B.
Yeah, I think B is fair for the Rat King. I was definitely when he came out in the format, he was 4 cost instead of 3, right? They've already buffed him.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I wasn't nearly as high on him at 4 because you have to wait till 5 to play him and get his ability going before he's removed or something.
Yeah, and there's some strong 5s in this format.
That 1 point of power makes a big difference. I think for his power level, I'm cool with the B.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you're right. You're 100% right. I think that was a big difference, honestly. All right, B for the Rat King. Next up is Mindbreaker's Staff. This is a cursed relic at legendary for 4 Shadow. At the end of the cursed player's turn, deal 1 damage to them and gain 1 health. After the 3rd time, sacrifice Mindbreaker's Staff to play a card of your choice from their deck. So it happens at the end of their turn. So John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that if you grab a unit, it is ready to attack on your turn, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. So there's 2 downsides to this card. A, the power level of it is based on what your opponent has in their deck. But let's be honest, Direwolf has done a phenomenal job of making really solid draft formats. So it's going to be few and far between where you don't have a decent spell or unit to get with this. And then obviously it takes 3 turns for it to trigger, so your opponent has some time to kind of maybe mitigate that. That being said, though, I mean, 3 turns can go by fairly quickly if the answer is not sitting in your hand or your opponent's not dead in a turn or two. So, or they're not beating you down. So this card is great. And then, it has the effect. Granted, you can make the argument that you don't know whether they were going to draw their bomb or not. So taking it out of their deck doesn't necessarily be card advantage or kind of trading a card for a card. But at the same time, the fact that you don't have that they're not going to draw it is a feel good. And then there's the additional value of the fact that you get to look at your opponent's deck. So okay, I have to play around this find a moment, or they have no removal left, or oh man, what am I going to do about this flyer when it comes down, etc., etc. So yeah, I think this card is absolutely phenomenal. What do you think, John?
I agree. I love this card. It's it depends the rating a little bit on what your options are, but like you said, it's so much information as well, as far as you can just literally write down all the pauses, for the rest of the game while you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 turns later, they have a 2-mana pause now. I know exactly what it is. And yeah, you just get to play your opponent's best card for the situation, whether that's unconditional removal, whether that's their bomb unit. And like you said, it essentially has charge.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to already be on a stable board to play this without dying, though. So it's not just, I don't think it's an A, but it's very close, B plus maybe.
Yeah, I can go B plus. I can go B. I think that's safe. Of course, the one time I Windvoked and played it, you were actually on the call with me, and we looked at the opponent's deck, and everything they had was good. I was like, yep, we're not winning this game.
That happened to one of my opponents the other day. He played it against me, and he even messaged me after the game. He's like, or no, I think it was during the game. He's like, your deck is insane. And yeah, I still won the game.
Yeah. I took their best card, and even then I was like, well, they have 3 answers to their own card in their deck, and right. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I take this. It was just I'm like, I don't know what to take. Everything's good. I am so dead.
Yeah.
Oh man, yep, that sounds about right. Okay, next up is Only the Beginning. This is a fast spell at rare for 4 Shadow. Inscribe. Play 3 units from your void that died this turn. So I think you're kind of living the dream if you think you're going to get 3 units back. But, I mean, it's not completely unheard of to get 2 units or even just 1 really good unit back with this card, right? You kind of attack with your big dude. Your opponent thinks they have a trick. They play around it, but they know they got to get the big dude off the board. So they double or triple block. And then you get the dude back. So, yeah, I think this card is good. And then, doing the old John cop-out, it's got Inscribed, so at the very least it's power. Yeah, I like this card. That being said, though, it's still situational, so I think C+.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It is hard to get more than 1 card of value, I think, out of it. But again, yeah, cop-out time. It was just a power in your deck that did that, so it's pretty good.
Yep. All right, moving right along, and They All Fall. Is that Syl? So then is that supposed to be Dizzo in the background? That's not Dizzo, right?
I don't think that's Syl.
I mean, I see the joke to fall because she threw him out a window, but I don't know, since this is a different artist, the art is so different, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, anywho, They All Fall is a spell at rare for 4 triple shadow. Kill an enemy unit. If it has 1 strength or less, steal it instead. So maybe, because I guess the one variant of Dizzo that you liked was a 1/4 or something like that. I don't know. It's a kill spell. It's slow speed though. It does kill anything, but it's also 4 or triple influence. I don't really think you care about the 1 strength stealing it.
One time, somebody wrecked me with that.
They took your deadly.
Stuff. Yeah, one time. I don't remember at this point what unit it was, but it was it's so annoying. It's that'll never come up. Oh my god, did it?
So B- or C+? B-, right? Because it still kills everything.
Yeah, it's just hard to cast.
Yeah.
and it's slow. Like it's so with the 3 pips, it's like essentially like a 6 cost, right? It's
Yeah.
closer to when you can cast it to, um, what's that 6 shadow one that you always like to play?
Yeah. Cut ties.
Yeah, cut
Yeah,
ties,
but
and
cut
actually,
ties can be a 2-for-1. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
I don't know. You think it more C plus
no, I
ish?
think B minus is fair.
Yeah. I mean, it still kills anything. So yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with C minus or correction B plus, and then we can adjust it later on if we
No,
feel like
B
it.
minus, B minus.
What? Oh, what did I say? Did I say B plus?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, no, B minus. Ah, yes, B minus.
Okay.
B minus. Sorry, I misspoke. Talk to us about Petra Ulrich Launder. Launder, yeah. Talk to
Launder,
us
yeah.
about.
So she's a 5 double shadow 0/5 Minotaur rogue, has revenge and inscribe, and summon. Put all spells from a void of your choice into your deck. Petra gets +1 strength for each. Um, yeah, cop out. City has inscribe, so sometimes
Oh.
sometimes she can just help you play the other cards in your hand that'll do something. Because in limited, there'll be some games where even by turn 5, 6, 7, there's like essentially 0 spells been played so far. It's just been all units
Mhm.
and unit tussling. But some games she will, you know, be like a 5/5 for 5 with revenge, which is good, pretty good. And
Recycles removal spell. She works
yeah,
well with eavesdrop.
yeah, sometimes all the spells she's getting are like really good. Like your opponent's just played like a Windvoke and 2 removals or something. Boom, those are in your deck now. Or like same, maybe you've done the same kind of thing. Like, so on the first pass, you get whichever ones like you think will be best to draw right then and there. And then if she comes back out with Destiny, you get to try again. And if she's alongside Eavesdrop, you can just get all the spells on the first pass, right? You just Eavesdrop, take their void, put them in yours, whatever. Boom, they're all already consolidated. Yeah, I think she's pretty solid. I've played her a couple times now. Occasionally, she'll be a little awkward. You know, maybe a lower stat line when you play her. You don't like so she can't always just stabilize like what you want your 5 drops to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think she's still good. I want to give her like a B.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the floor is pretty low, but I think the fact that the upside is really high as well is enough to. Yeah, I'm good with a B.
Okay.
It doesn't take much. I mean, I think you're happy with just about everything she does, minus when she comes in as like a 2/5. But even then, if the 2/5 is a find a moment and a victimless crime, then is it really that bad, right? And you get to do it again. So yeah, I'm good with a B. I think Petra's a solid B as well. And then once again, like I said, I mean, she's in the same color as Eavesdrop, so there's that. All right, this card, man, I want this card to be good. It is good. What am I talking about? It's just I never get to like live the dream with her. But Valkyrie Tormentor is a 4/3 Valkyrie at rare for 5 Shadow Shadow, flying deadly quick draw, so she could just keep on attacking. Not as great on defense, but that's okay. And then contract 4, each player discards 2 cards of their choice from their hand. So obviously living the dream is to play her with no cards left in your hand, so your opponent's the only one pitching it. We do have some of the discard for value cards in this set, but most of them require you to play power to activate that ability, and then obviously contract's going to eat the rest of your power, so that's a little awkward. But even just on the surface, a 4/3 quick draw deadly flyer is great for 5, so I like her quite a bit. John, where do you put her at?
I've had some bad experiences with her in my deck, where if you're getting run over, she's a 5 drop, and you're playing her with the intention of like trading her off with one of their units to try and maybe help you stabilize. And because of her 3 butt, she just kind of gets removed relatively easily. So she's kind of unreliable in that sense. But if you're already, beating down and they've already kind of been spending removal on your early threats and you're like the aggressor, she's great top end in that case. So it's like a high variance kind of card.
Well, I
And
mean,
like,
you never. you never want your flyers to stabilize you, right? I mean,
No, but it is
that's
a
kind of the
five
price
cost.
you pay. Yeah,
You know, that's like where the kind of issue comes in is like it's your 5 cost play.
gotcha.
And like there's all kinds of decks in this format. Like any given run, you're gonna run into a few like very aggressive decks. I feel like.
Mm,
And
gotcha.
like I've had a lot of awkwardness with the contract too. It's like I really want to get rid of my opponent's last 2 cards, but like maybe you're holding on to like a combat trick or two, and it's like you haven't had a chance to use them, and now you're gonna run this out. It's like you really there's a lot of awkward things about this card, honestly. But if she's in play attacking, like she'll get the job done pretty quickly, and
Hmm.
pretty good. I think for something like that, like an evasive unit like that, I think honestly the common shadow one, uh, like it plays out more reliably. The embezzler,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
it does something when it comes down, like as far as like it like really pushes damage early, and
Hmm.
then it has like just as good evasion essentially. Um, so yeah, like I think she's good, but like I don't think she's quite bomb level.
C
Um,
plus, B minus.
I think maybe just a B is good enough.
Okay. Yeah. B works for me. That's about where I was gonna put her at anyway. So we're
Okay.
sweet. B for Valkyrie Tormentor. Next up is Fear. This is a 7/7 Nightmare legendary for 7, and then quadruple Shadow. Inscribe, unblockable and deadly while you have 10 or more cards in your void. When you inscribe Fear, each player discards the top 2 cards of their deck. I mean, I think it's. I mean, the fact that it. Once again, going back to eavesdrop, right? And by the time you play this at 7, it's possible you have 10 cards in your void, right? Other than that, she's just a 7/7 vanilla 7/7, which is garbage. Inscribe is sweet. I don't know, probably still B, right? Like I think because of eavesdrop, there's a high chance that you actually can get to 10 cards. Where 7/7 unblockable is pretty sweet, right?
Yeah. What was that Mandrake that was like a 4/4? It had lifesteal though, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
It had life still.
what's
Yes,
up with the
yes.
deadly, like unblockable deadly? Like, who cares? Like, it's
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's so weird to me too.
so
I think
weird.
it's I think it's because it's like the picture is a snake, so maybe it's
Yeah.
venomous. But I'm 100% with you. The deadly is so freaking weird.
I mean, I guess that means it works like, but a 7/7 should already block anything. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
it is.
Um,
It's gotta be a flavor thing. It has to be.
right. So, but I don't know if you've ever been in a game too where you're like both eavesdropping each other and like
Oh yeah,
the
I guess
voids
you're
are going
right.
on
Oh
simultaneously.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's good. I don't think it's amazing, but it's still a
Yeah,
power. So yeah, I think B is probably fine. Maybe
yeah,
even B
yeah.
minus.
Yeah, ugh, you're right. Them eavesdropping you feels horrible with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, B minus. B minus for Fear.
Okay.
We'll be a little conservative. All right, John, talk to us about Highway Devourer.
Okay. This one is kind of wacky. It's 10. What is that? 10 and 6 shadow, 11/9 dire beast. Has ambush, and when Highway Devourer kills a unit or site, okay, play it from the void. So yeah, this is a 10 cost card. There's no ways to cheat this out, really, like that are in any way, shape, or form reliable.
Hmm.
Um, and in those cases, the ambush won't even do anything. I basically don't think this is a playable draft card.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So probably just an F.
Yep, I'm right there with you. An F. One question though. So when the way it reads, so if you block a deadly unit with it, right, and they both die, then it'll play itself from the void. Is that what it does, or right? That's the only way it can kill something, right?
Well, it won't play itself. It'll play the deadly that it traded with onto the side.
Okay. That makes so much more sense now. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Oh
So
my gosh, I've read this card wrong the entire time. Not that I've ever wanted to brew around it, but literally, I was like, how does it play itself? That's so odd.
no,
Got
no.
it. Got it. Got it. Okay,
It
that
doesn't
makes so
end
much.
played.
Yeah. Okay, derp. That's
Like
why I have you on
if
the
you
show.
if you somehow manage to swing at a site and kill it
Yeah,
with this thing attacking it, you
yeah,
can
I got.
ambush a site.
Okay, got you. Okay, okay, got it.
That's so
Okay,
weird.
yeah, card is weird. Okay, cool. So that is Shadow. Shadow looks pretty good too, man. There's some definitely
Couple duds
strong.
again,
Yeah, yeah. And that's fine. Shadow is due for a couple, right?
right? But yeah, some sweet ones here too.
All right, let's finish this off with actually I don't remember if there's any close ones or not. Anyways, let's go into our multi-faction ones. First one we're starting off with Sedaine, Arcanum Curator is a 2/3 mage at rare for 3 Praxis. He has Valor, and when Sedaine attacks, create and draw a power burst, which gives you for 0, you get +1 power this turn, and then contract 2, draw a card. Man, I think the Valor kind of puts this guy up there a little bit. Power Burst, not the biggest card, but it can help you ramp out a little bit. The draw card is nice though. Probably still just the C plus B minus. I always have a hard time like giving these low drop, smaller creatures a higher grade because even late they don't quite impact the board quite a bit. But this guy does draw a card, so at the very least he replaces himself.
Hmm.
But once again, like none of his effects are completely backbreaking, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant to put him at a B. But maybe I don't know. What do you think, John?
I think he's good. Curving out with him is the best place for him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even though it's a little awkward, if I think you basically always draw a card with him.
Mm-hmm.
And like the thing is, like the power burst effect really kind of negates the fact that you had to go into debt to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he gets to attack, for a couple turns, like he comes down on
Mm-hmm.
turn 3, the Valor helps him attack into a lot of boards that, if they let him in, they're only taking 2. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think he plays out maybe even better than he looks.
Mm.
And he can
Plus the
he can
the
help you
power
ramp
burst can
out
be
to 6 or 7, like
yeah.
ahead of curve. If he gets in a couple of times, and like he just replaces himself when you play him, like,
Mm.
he's solid.
And it's discard insurance if you don't need the power burst.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
definitely.
discard fodder.
I think like a B minus is kind of fair. Like I could even go as high as B with this guy, but
All
I think
right,
B
let's go.
minus is probably
Yeah,
good.
let's go B minus. I like B minus on him. Valor does make him hard to block for sure. All right, Sullux Blinding Radiance is next. She is a 4/4 Dragonet Legendary for 5 double Praxis. Flying, Charge, Endurance. Oh, baby. When Sullux hits the enemy player, silence their void and give her a killer. Ultimate, pay 8 to give Sullux +4/+4. Man, other than a slightly restrictive, actually a restrictive casting cost, I like this girl a lot. I think she's an A, right? Silencing Void is relevant. She continues to refresh her killer so she can keep picking off small things if she doesn't need to attack. She has Endurance so she can block, Charge so she at least gets in for 1 hit. And then later in the game, man, she just becomes an A freaking beat stick. I like her a lot, John.
Yeah, I think this is an easy A.
Sweet. All right. A for Sullux Blinding Radiance. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, John, I feel like you have more experience with this card. Talk to us about Ramba Single Swing.
Okay, Ramba is a 6 cost, double fire, double time, 8/8 giant with endurance, and says when Ramba kills a unit with 2 strength or less, draw a card. So chumping Ramba is gonna result in your opponent just drawing cards. So that's kind of nice for an otherwise not non-evasive big ol' beater. The fact that it's you know a 6 cost with no evasion though is not ideal. Um, like I think he's very playable. Like if you're already in Praxis, you slam this. Pack one, pick one. I think it's a little uh, it's a little unreliable. Like you don't want to force Praxis if it's not open just because you pack one, pick one to Ramba. Like I don't think it's quite like bomb level right in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's pretty good. And because he has endurance, he can at least attack and defend. And like I just said, that like chumping him is a nightmare. But you know, in the it's hard to, I don't know. Like he's just been a little awkward for me when I've had him in my deck. Um, and yeah, I also was forcing practice a little bit in some of those decks. So my deck overall ended up a little mediocre, and so I couldn't quite get to cast him and have a board state where he would actually be able to, you know, attack and do stuff. So I still think he's pretty good though. I think if the open lane is Praxis, it'll perform a lot better than I've had experiences. So um, I don't know. I'd probably say like B, B plus, probably just a B.
I think I'm okay with B plus just because he is a must answer, right? You can't just leave him on the board.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, I'll go with B plus for Ramba single swing. I think you made a very good argument on both sides of him. So good job, John.
Oh, yeah.
Next up is Aijin Mithril Daimyo. Oh man, I know how to say this word. Daimyo, right?
I think so.
Daimyo. Oh man, I feel like I'm drawing a blank now.
I don't know.
I know how to. Oh, I knew how to say this word, and now that I'm seeing it instead of just saying it, correct me. Let me know in the comments. Daimyo. I'm gonna Google it after this. Anyways.
Yeah, it's a real word.
Yeah, it's the Japanese lord, I think.
I think so.
Right? I think it's a Japanese word for lord. Anywho, 4/4 Oni at rare for 4 double Rakano. Pay 1 and exhaust Aijin to play a 4/4 +4/+4 mithril armor on one of your units that attacked this turn. So almost super sweet value. Almost. Contract 4, play 2 1/2 Oni Samurai with Warcry. Man, I like all kinds of things about her. 4/4 for 4 is already fine, though it's going to be kind of tough to play her on curve. You honestly do want to pay her on 5 so you can at least activate her right away to get some value in case your opponent gets rid of her, because she does die to Searing Fist, which I think is a little awkward considering who she is, but that's fine. You can't just start passing around armor, right, in a stalled board state. She goes really good comboed with cheap flyers because obviously they get in there and then she makes them huge and they continue to get in there. It doesn't give you like the one time clause or whatnot, right? You can keep putting the same weapon on one of your beaters if you want. She does kind of spread out the board, giving you 2 samurai. Granted, by the time she comes down, there's a good chance those samurai aren't going to get to attack. But, I mean, it's still 3 bodies on one card, which is solid. And if you do, you get, a pump spell with one of your samurais. Then you could pump her, it only costs 1 to activate her to do it. It also exhausts her, so don't plan on blocking with her, though I don't think you're blocking with her either. I don't know, I like a lot of things about her, but nothing really is kind of backbreaking. That being said, though, I've seen her do some work on some board states for sure, both on defense and offense. So I don't know, I think she's still worth a B. I don't think she's in the A category just because she's pretty situational, right, John?
Yes and no. If you have to use her to help stabilize, then you probably just do the contract, right? That means you weren't attacking that turn. And then you have some chumpers, and if she's not answered immediately, and you have, like you mentioned, any evasive unit the next turn, you can just kind of start running away with the game. But yeah, I think in most draft games, like the best use is to already be attacking, and like you mentioned, player on 5, so you just pay her and then pay the 1 to go ahead and start doing the weapons. Like, you only have to do the contracts to make the Onis, like I said, to help stabilize in certain board states, or if they've just been removing all of your threats, on the turns leading up to playing Aijin. So, but I think she's like just so much value and has some serious inevitability.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's very good. A little hard to cast right on curve, not on curve, but like on turn 5, like we mentioned, still kind of difficult to always be able to. So like I'm on B plus, I think, for Aijin.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do B plus for Aijin. I mean, you still have a potential 8/8 worth of stats for 5 on turn 5, which is pretty sweet. So next up is Godan, Cold Hearted. This is a 5/5 Oni Gunslinger. Yes. For 6 double Rakano. Endurance, quick draw. Contract 2, discard your hand. What? And draw 3 cards. Deal 2 damage to the enemy player for each spell discarded this way. I mean, perfect world, you're like pitching. Actually, I mean, I guess pitching power, but really just your hand's empty. You play her, you contract, refill your hand, and endurance is sweet. Quick draw on a 5/5 is not bad. It doesn't take much to make sure she can continuously win combat, and yeah, and then there's upside. Sometimes you just play her for 6, and it's not completely broken, but it's not horrible on rate. And then sometimes you can contract and refill your hand and get in some damage. I mean, she can technically also kill your opponent, right? If you have something that can't go face, you're sitting there with a Searing Fist, and you're like, my board's better, I don't need this. You can send it to the face to finish them off. So, yeah, I like her. I like her quite a bit. Where are you at, John?
Yeah, I also like her quite a bit. She, the 5/5 for 6 can be a little sketchy if you're getting beat down, but in all other situations, yeah, she's just gonna help you refill and then start beating down herself. So I think probably a B or B plus for Godan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with B plus. I think there's enough stuff there that it's gonna make a difference for sure. So B plus for Godan Cold Hearted. So collectors create a card. Torque Ballistics Crafter is also TBC. So the Barbarian Camp. Shout out to Collector for making a phenomenal card. Torque Ballistics Crafter is a 3/3 Yeti at rare for 3 Skycrag. Ultimate. At the start of your turn, you may discard 2 cards to play a Rocket Sled. Rocket Sled gives you your Yetis +1 strength and all your spells a +1 damage. Contract 1, create and draw Snowball. Man, like, this card is good, but God, have I found it, like, awkward and interesting to play around, right? It's like, when do I pitch stuff? When do I not? How many Yetis do I have? Do I need the extra spell damage? Do I want to pitch anything in my hand? Do I rather play it? Like, it's a very interesting card, but I do think it's good and fun to play. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. It's a really interesting design. I've in games I've found it to be a little awkward to get off the ultimate. Like sometimes you don't, if you especially if you're playing it near on curve, like you don't have 2 cards you want to pitch, including the snowball you just made.
Yeah.
That's usually pretty useful and limited. But I think literally just getting a 3/3 for 3 plus a snowball is quite good, just already. So even if they just answer it like when on the opponent's turn, and you never even get the option to do the ultimate, I still think it's pretty solid. Ultimately, though, it's still just a smaller statted unit, like just a 3/3, right? So, probably like a B minus for Torque, maybe a B.
Oh wow, I think I was gonna put him at a C plus.
C plus. Okay, let's go B minus.
Yeah.
Like,
So
the fact
yeah.
that it's like 2 cards without any extra work, and like you can kind of build around them too a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Make them a little better.
It's just because it's not always straight up value. I've like we both said, he's a little clunky. I like that about him because it definitely forces you to make some decisions, but it's not just straight upside. So B minus for Torque Ballistics Crafter. Again, shout out to the Collector. Next up is Elemental Fury. This is a spell at rare for 4 red-blue. Deal 4 damage to each unit and sight. Elemental Fury can't be negated. So just for clarification purposes, it means it can't be countered, but it is still blocked by Aegis. This card's great. I mean, 4/4, 4 damage. We liked the Shadow one. Granted, the Shadow does have the flexibility of being able to play for 2, but I think this card is solid as well. It's rare, so people aren't going to really play around it. It comes down early enough where I think your opponent, it doesn't feel like something's up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I like this card. I think it's an even B. I think it can do a lot of work, and then obviously you can craft a board state where maybe like 1 or 2 of your creatures can survive this, right? So
I think B is fair for this. It's not quite as flexible as Saloon Massacre, right?
Correct.
But it's very close.
Right. B for Elemental Fury. Next up is Phenomenal Force. This is a legendary spell for 7 double Skycrag. Double the strength and health of one of your units. It deals its strength in damage to an enemy unit. I mean, the doubling is permanent, right? And it kills a thing, but man, is it worth 7? You have to have a unit. I mean, doubling a unit in most cases is going to allow you to kill something. I don't know, John. I'm kind of on the fence about this.
I think
It,
uh, I think you're obviously playing Primal, so in the draft packs right now, anytime I'm in a Primal deck, I always end up with at least like 2 copies, maybe even 3 or 4 of the 5/4 stealth overwhelm.
mm-hmm.
And so like
Oh,
doubling
yeah.
that
Holy
means it has
crap.
overwhelm, so like all that extra damage gets through. Like
Yeah, that's pretty solid,
and the,
actually.
it's not like Christmas Land exactly, because like that's like a super boosted card now. Now in another iteration of the format, maybe it's harder to get a
Mm.
card like that in your deck, but there's
Blue
also some
has.
cards like that in Fire too. Like there's
Uh,
the 5/3 brawler that's always there
uh,
too. So I think you can draft some cards that make this card really good. And I
uh,
think its worst case is like, it's gonna, you know, kill something and make your whatever unit probably the biggest
it's great
unit
with
suddenly.
flyers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how to rate it exactly. Maybe like it does cost 7, right? So like maybe like a B minus. Maybe
Yeah,
like
I can go with
overwhelm
B
something.
minus. Man, I feel like they've hit their stride with rares. We've given a lot of Bs this go around.
Yeah, these are
Um,
some really interesting ones.
yeah, I like B minus. You know, what's worst case scenario? You turn like a 2/2 flyer into a 4/4 flyer and kill their other flyer that could block you. I guess maybe is probably
Yeah, that's like
the
that kind of a medium to bad case, right?
yeah. I mean, I guess worst case scenario is you have it in your hand with no creatures. So
Yeah, you're just losing that game no matter what,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
not necessarily where you want your 7 drop, I guess. But
yeah. Okay. Next up is Syl No Regrets. Still No Regrets is a 1/3 rogue legendary for 3 red blue, or correction, red shadow. Double damage, quick draw. When the enemy player plays a spell, Syl deals its cost in damage to them. And of course, remember she has double damage, so it is double. So if they play, like, for example, a Wisdom of the Elders that costs 3, Syl will deal 6 damage to them. Contract 2, give a unit double damage and quick draw this turn. Don't really see, I mean, I guess there's an excuse to do it early if the coast is clear, but most of the time you're probably going to want to do this late, which is phenomenal, right? Especially something that has overwhelm, like John mentioned, or a flyer. Um, I think she's fine. She might actually even be good, right? Because she doesn't even have to attack, and every time your opponent wants to use a combat trick, she's just gonna be like, "All right," you know.
hmm
Um, yeah, I don't know. I probably just a solid B, right? She's a little hard to cast, but you're fine casting her early and you're fine casting her late, right? I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
she doesn't punish you. I mean, it's double damage and quick draw, right? So regardless, you're gonna be able to get in there with the unit you're attacking with. So yeah, I think she's a solid B actually. She does stuff if she just sits there, and then she can definitely take chunks out of your opponent's life total one way or another, whether through combat. She likes combat tricks. Yeah, I think I give her a B. What do you think, John?
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Embezzler, right? Like she's like kind of like a 3 cost Embezzler with, it's like get a similar amount of damage in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's like some interesting things that you can do with her as far as like what you're buffing um and things like that. So I don't know. Like I think a B is probably, she's kind of hard to rate for limited, because a lot of the sustained damage is going to be based on what your opponent is doing. Because she, without tricks to back her up, she's not going to be able to get into combat much herself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you do have some tricks to go with her, especially something like the often pass late in these cold hunt packs, like Beyond Fear would be insane with Syl, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just all attack for 1
Yep.
and life steal. Um, so yeah, that, like if you have a Syl in your deck, you might prioritize cards like that to make her really pop off. But yeah, I
Go
think
ahead,
a
opponent.
B.
Go
What
ahead,
is
opponent. Eavesdrop me, bro.
Yeah, eight to the face for that. That'll yeah, you can really tax them for plays like that.
All right, so B then.
I'm cool with that.
B for Syl, no regrets. Next up, Face of Betrayal. This is a spell at rare for 4 red shadow. Steal and ready an enemy unit this turn. When the stolen unit hits the enemy player this turn, play the top card of their deck. I'll let you take this one, John.
This is obviously a very high variance card, whether it'll do anything or whether it gets anything good, or yeah, it's something I've never put in my deck. And I've had opponents play it against me where I only have one unit in play, so it's like guaranteed, that they get to hit me with it.
Mm-hmm.
It costs 4, so it's hard to combo this with like sack effects and things like that. So I don't know, like in all those cases, I basically just let it hit me. Um, and yeah, my opponent, I think every time has low rolled a power or whatever, and like they actually just helped my draws. So yeah, it's a high variance card, and there'll be some board states where it just does literally nothing. Like, it's like if all your units are like 2 4s, 2 3s, whatever, 2 5, things with
Yeah.
like lower attack than health, and you can just block your own unit and it doesn't even get the card. So like something like this would be best paired with sack effects, but like I said, it's hard to actually pull that off when the effect
Well,
that's stealing costs 4.
yeah. And ironically, most of the time when you steal your opponent's unit, you want it to be the last spell you cast of the game, right? You get the blocker out of the way, you swing it for more damage, you kill them. So,
Right.
D plus.
Sure.
All right, D plus for Face of Betrayal. Next up, we have Zhou, Conqueror of Stonescar. This is a 5/5 dragon at rare for 6 double red, double shadow. Flying Revenge. When Zhou hits the enemy player, deal 5 damage to an enemy unit. A, right? Can we move on?
I think A is the right rating. I've had some bad luck with Joe when I put him in my decks, but I think that was all because I was forcing Stone Scar.
Yeah.
So watch out for that.
Yeah. 5/5 flyer with Revenge for 6 is already good, even if it is semi hard to cast. And then it just all upside from there. So yeah. Zhou, if you see him, Windmill Slam.
It's worth mentioning, I think, like you want to prioritize cards like Daring Maneuver if you're playing Joe, because it's insane when you give Joe Overwhelm, then he's just a board wipe.
Yeah.
A
Oh my
one-sided board wipe
gosh.
or whatever. He
Yeah.
just machine guns down their entire board with if he has Overwhelm, because like every unit that has 1 point trickle through to the face from the Overwhelm.
Yeah.
And 5
Oh, that's so sick. Oh my
activates it
gosh.
again. It's insane.
And then he combos with what is it? Mercenary Vanguard, right? The
Yeah.
tandem trigger.
Yeah, exactly. If you God forbid you have other ways to trigger his ping effect, like
Oh.
yeah, this show is kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. A. Well then, shoot. A plus. No, right?
Nah, I think A is
A.
good enough.
All right. Solid A. Next up is Alessi, High Arcanist. She is a 3/3 mage at legendary for 5 time justice. When you play a spell, Alessi gets +1/+1 for each of its factions, so permanently. So if you play, like, for example, a Combre spell, she would get +2/+2. Contract 2, gain 3 armor and play a spell from your hand that costs 3 or less. John, how often are you going to be doing that contract in limited? I mean, most of the spells you have are either a kill spell or a pump spell or a combat trick, right?
Yeah, it's hard to actually make that do something. Like I don't know. It's definitely an awkward contract, like in limited. Yeah, you'll be playing some spells like that, but yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of your spells are going to be combat tricks, so it's like that's not really what you want to be doing. So I think that'd be best with like just some proactive Windvokes or something, but the chances that you have both of those in your hand simultaneously in any given game, not very high.
Yeah, so how do you feel about playing vanilla 3/3 for 5 then?
Pretty bad, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most of the combat tricks, especially in Time and Justice, are single faction. So I mean, we've seen her get out of hand. Granted, it's in constructed with single faction spells because her older iteration is just a +1/+1 for each spell. Period. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not very high on her. Are you?
No, I'm definitely not. Like, I think like for limited, like D plus, C minus, like
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's still yeah. I think I'm gonna go D plus.
Okay.
I think there's that awkward tension of the typical spells that you play in limited in these colors, right? Maybe if she was primal or shadow, right? Those colors can have a little bit more utility spells involved
Hmm.
or slow speed, but the fact that everything you want in Combray is instant, like, or yeah, yeah, I'll go D plus for Alessi. Talk to us about Goliath Axe, if you don't mind, John.
Sure. This is another one they already buffed. It came out as a 4/4 relic weapon, and now it's a 4/5, 5 Combre. With it also has +1 maximum power, as well as enemy spells cost one more. I think it's pretty good. Um, like like both of its effects can definitely mean something. I think by the time you're at 5, the +1 maximum power usually doesn't mean too much, but I think the enemy spells costing one more can really do some work, right? Because there'll be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of games where your opponent passes with exactly enough to play their Chloric Mix or whatever, planning to use it on whatever unit you had in play, and then you play this, and then they're like, they wish they could do it on your face, for the Relic Swing, but they only have their 2 power open, and suddenly their Chloric costs 3. So I
Yep.
think,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I think it helps you like dodge some of the ways they would have actually had available to interact with it, or to help save their units or whatever, if they were just going to find the moment the relic weapon attack or any, that's the thing that comes up in this format a lot. So I think I think that extra text on it actually means a lot, and a 4/5 means, like, even without that extra text, a lot of times it's going to be able to eat 2 units before going away. So I think it's pretty strong. I want to give it like a B.
Okay. I have. I yes. I'll go with a B. I haven't played with it enough to. I think I've only seen it once, and yeah, that enemy spells cost one more is definitely sweet, and it's not too difficult to make it a 2-for-1. So Glyphax gets a B. Next up is Trials and Tribulations. This is a spell at rare for 2-time blue.
Elysian.
Yeah, thank you. Deal 2 damage to each unit. Your units that survive get +1/+1. So kind of a little bit of insurance policy when those 2 damage to everything doesn't quite get the job done. At least you can kill 1 or 2 things and then buff your bigger things. So yeah, I like this card. I think at the very least, like, you're fine. So what? I mean, obviously, worst case scenario, this thing kills one thing and that's it. But also another bottom end is it kills one of their things and buffs one of your things. I think this card's fine. I don't think it's. Do you think it's broken? No, right? It's
No,
probably
it's
still
definitely
just
not
like a C
broken.
plus.
It's very efficient. I'd put it maybe in the B range even. Like I've definitely played in my deck, like, and in the most recent deck I played this in, honestly, like, I put in some less good units. Like, I took out like some X2s and put in some like units that I would normally rate lower just in general terms,
Mm-hmm.
that were like 1/3s or 2/3s or whatever. Like, I played some Rolling Fogs in that deck, but like,
Mm-hmm.
whereas normally it would be a 3/2. But if you kind of, I don't think this needs a build around rating, but if you keep it in mind while you're drafting, you can get some serious value with this card. Like, yeah, you'll kill 1 or 2 of their things. It kills a lot of flyers. It kills a lot of early game for any opponent's, general early game. And yeah, if you draft around it, you're gonna basically lose nothing, and suddenly your units are all like +1/+1 bigger. Like, I think it's pretty dang solid. Um, I'd give it more like a B minus, honestly, than a C range.
Okay. All right. B minus for Trials and Tribulations then. Next up, we have Kurox All Seeing. This is a 5/5 dragon for 6 double time, double primal. Flying Endurance Summon. You may take depth equal to the number of cards in your hand to put a Dragon's Eye on the top of your deck. This card's just an A, right?
Yeah, I think it's an easy A.
Yeah, cool. Big flyer, gives you card advantage, has flying and endurance. Solid, great, awesome. Play it any chance you get. Let's move on.
It is
Uh,
cool that there's some counterplay to the Dragon's Eye, honestly. Like,
oh yeah, like milling the top of the deck or
yeah,
whatnot,
like,
or stealing it.
any of those, yeah, those things exist in the format. So it's not just you're not just guaranteed, but most of the time, yeah, you're gonna get it. That's gonna be awesome.
Oh, this is the Ashara, the artwork that I don't like. I'm not quite sure. I told you it feels very MTV Eon Flux-ish, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does.
So Ashara Widowmaker is a 3/3 elf gunslinger at legendary for 3 double time, double shadow. Charge, quick draw, contract 2, deal 3 damage to another unit. Its owner gains 3 health and draws a card. So John, there's a lot going on here. Talk to us about it. Where are you at on it?
I think if it was just 3 time shadow, I'd like her a lot more because like with the double time double shadow for 3, like this is never coming down on curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
In limited, so like I think you know the everything about her is just a little awkward for me to really like her. I like a 3/3 with charge and quick draw, but I don't like it as much on turns 4, 5, 6, whenever. And then if you kill one of their units, they get to draw a card. Like the contract, I think is honestly best when you use it on one of your units that won't die,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yep. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Like, unless it's like a deadly unit or something that's blocking your big dudes. Yeah, I agree with you.
yeah. So I think she's really awkward, honestly. So I want to give her like a C plus.
Yeah, I could do that. I'm good with that. I'm not particularly high on her, to be honest with you as well. So C plus for Ashara Widowmaker. This card received a buff, and that makes it, I think, significantly more playable. Deleth Free Prophet is a 3/1 Mystic at rare for 3 Xenon. Lifesteal and unblockable. He was just unblockable, which was fine. I just let people swing into me. But the lifesteal makes this guy a must answer. When a player plays a spell directly on Deleth, sacrifice him to invoke Xenon. So this is our first iteration of Invoke on the podcast, so we'll go ahead and go over it real quick. You're going to get 3 options to choose from of the respective colors. So of course, with it being Xenon means you can get either a time card, a shadow card, or a Xenon card. And you are going to get one of 3 each time. You get a random attachment, a random spell, and a random unit. So each one of those categories must be checked off, but what you get within those categories is completely random. So you can get a common, uncommon, legendary, something in the format. Actually, for Direwolf, it will be in the format. So, yeah, I think this card's, I think it's just an A, right, John? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
new
Winvoke.
I think an A is fair.
Yeah, I mean, the lifesteal unblockable means it's a 6-point life swing if he goes unanswered, which is very difficult to race. He ends the game in short order, and then when they do kill him, you get to Winvoke. Like, seems like a win to me.
There's a lot of relic weapons that kill him without you invoking
Oh,
them.
yeah, fair.
And there's also some edict type effects, right, where they make you sack him, and you also like the Winvoke isn't guaranteed, but like just the body is like you said, it's a must answer threat.
So, all right, so A for Deleth Free Prophet. End of an Era is next. This is a spell, a legendary spell for 5 Xenon. Kill each unit, relic, and site with cost 3 or less. If 6 or more cards are killed this way, create and draw a Dezo's Office. Is this card good, John?
No.
Okay. I was like reading it. I'm like, I kind of feel like it has the potential to be good, but it's really not.
I've even tried to make this work in Constructed. It's just so awkward. Like,
yeah, I think it has a higher chance of being better in limited, where like your 2 drops and 3 drops just kind of gum up the board. But even then, killing 6.
You like the thing is like a lot of times to not just be getting beat up on the way to 5, like you can't even really, you can't block and trade and expect to get the office. Like,
Plus it draws the office. So you pay 5, you kill all the small stuff, and now all of a sudden they're like 4 and 5 drop can get in there. So
like, I've played this and I found it essentially like impossible to actually get to 5 without dying and have 6 of these requisite units in play. Like I found
gotcha.
I wanted to play an Dezo's Office in draft so bad, and I just could not get it to happen.
Okay, fair enough. So F for an end of an era. Don't play it. It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap.
I think this card's another A though. Huru Sentry is a 4/3 unseen bird at rare for 4 Huru. Flying, overwhelm, contract 2, deal 4 damage to an enemy unit with flying. And I love the fact that the artwork has it like hovering over, about to rip off Valkyrie's wings. I love Valkyries, but that's super cool.
Hmm.
This card's an A, right?
I think so.
I mean, four
Could be A
damage.
minus.
4 damage
Yeah,
kills just about every flyer except what, 3 dragons,
right.
which I think is also a flavor win, right? Owls kill these giant owls kill everything in the air minus dragons that are bigger than them.
This
I
is
could
another
get behind
card that
it.
they already buffed. Like it used to
Yeah,
just be deal 3. Like yeah, 4 is
yeah.
4 is like exactly where you want your damage
And
threshold to
then
be.
overwhelm means that it combos even better with combat tricks. Yeah, this card's solid. I like this card in A. It might be a little
Okay.
risque, but yeah, I think this card's gonna do a lot of work. All right, here's another A in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Let me reread it. Nostrix Grand Seer is a 3/9 unseen bird for 6 double justice double primal. Flying. When you attack with exactly 2 units, they each get a random battle skill. Each unit in your deck that shares a name with them gets +4/+4 and a random battle skill. So not very often that the shared name thing is going to come into effect. Maybe, probably your 2 and 3 drops, maybe. But, I mean, Nostrix can attack, right? A 3/9 flyer is pretty difficult to block with. So you just need one other thing. And then sometimes, you're kind of rolling the dice. But sometimes those battle skills can pay off. If it's quick draw, unblockable, deadly, right? It makes it a little cumbersome for your opponent.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
think
you
this card
roll
is,
endurance for Nostrix himself.
yeah, oh my god, that'd be so busted. I guess it's not completely backbreaking, so it's probably closer to like a B plus. Where are you at on Nostrix?
uh, yeah, he doesn't like the turn you play him as long as you have 2 attackers already. I think it can
Mm-hmm.
just get out of hand like very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's good at stabilizing too. He's a 3/9. And like you mentioned, he himself is, obviously the next turn is good at enabling his attack thing. So I don't know. I do think he's very good. It's a must answer threat, and he is not easy to answer.
A minus?
And I think an A minus is cool. Yeah, there's just
Yeah.
not many answers to this thing. Its butt is just
Yeah.
that big.
My problem though is if like you don't have a board presence and your opponent's just beating down on you, he may slow down the board, but he may not as well, right? Because it's still just one dude. So that was my only concern. But yeah, all right, A minus for Nostrix Gan Seer. Next up is Nodoron. Ulrich Air is a 2/5 Minotaur soldier for 4 Argenport. Lifesteal. When Nodoron attacks, she pays off your debt. Entomb, the enemy player takes 3 debt. I think she's just a C, right? I don't know how big the debt thing comes into play on either side of it, but a 2/5 lifesteal is pretty solid. So I don't know. I'm on like C plus.
I
What do you
think C
think?
plus is good.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, I think the timing of the debt/debt payoff is eh. Like, yeah, whatever. Okay, moving on. Next up, Nothing Remains is a rare spell for 4 double justice, double shadow. Kill all units and give them Voidbound. This card's solid. I think it's a solid B plus.
I think a B plus.
Yeah, I mean the Voidbound, you're right, is pretty relevant as well, and it's cheap. You're probably not going to play it on 4 because of the influence, but at the same time, you probably don't want to play it on 4 either. All right, B plus for a board wipe. Getting down to the home stretch here, John, why don't you talk to us about Renia, Wings of the Cabal?
All right, she's a Valkyrie rogue, 5, 1 justice, 3 shadow, 5/3, with flying and ambush, and contract 4. Kill an enemy unit with lower strength than health, and the enemy player discards each copy from their deck. Yeah, this is very good. Um, I think she's like an easy A, a little hard to
Yep.
cast, but she does a lot. And like because of the ambush, even if she's not literally ambushing something in combat, like it means she's basically has, pseudo charge, right? And she, even she won't necessarily always even have something to kill with her contract, but I think, even if neither of those conditions are met, she's still basically dealing 5 the turn she comes into play.
I
Um,
agree.
so I think she's very good, and sometimes she's like kills 2 things on her way in, so she's like super super good in those cases.
Yep, I am with you, my friend. I give her an A as well for Reneo, Wings of the Cabal. All right, John. Good. I'm gonna explain this card, but you're gonna have to go on a tangent because I ironically have not seen it played or been able to play this card. But I know this is definitely one of the controversial cards in the format so far. The Uncountable is a 1/3 Nightmare Sheep at rare for 2 Primal Shadow, deadly. Pay 4, exhaust the Uncountable, discard a card, and sacrifice another unit to play a 5/5 Impending Doom, which has flying and pings you at the end of your turn. So of note, really quickly, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the card, so that's kind of cool. Anywho, John, go ahead and do your thing, homie.
Okay, so this is like kind of like a build around card, in some senses, but at the very least, like at the worst, it's like still a 1/3 deadly for 2, so it's like a great early game roadblock. It's just like a card you'd put in your deck anytime you're playing Feln, and then every once in a while, even without building around it, you're just gonna like be at a board state where you can just upgrade one of your 2/2s or whatever into a 5/5 Impending Doom. Like you just have an extra power in your hand, you got this unit in play that's not doing anything. Boom, Impending Doom. So I think there's some ways to really make this card like good value. Like there's a good amount of like revenge units that are cheap in Shadow and at common. Um, I think it's solid. It's like if it was just like a 0/1 or something, I think it would be very suspicious. Like, not to knock on Severin or whatever, because I think he's great. But like, this thing's fail case of being a 1/3 deadly for 2 means it's just kind of playable in any Feln deck, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and then just whenever the time is right, you can, you know, turn out Impending Dooms. And even if that time never comes, your opponent probably spent some, you know, premium removal on your 2-drop. So I think it's solid.
Okay, so where you put it at?
I think like a B for its, flexibility and potential to close out a game.
Okay, I can go with that. Like I said, I really have no idea where to rate this card. I have to play it out to see it because it's just, yeah, I'd run it just because, like you said, it's a 1/3 deadly.
Yeah. Like
All
it
right.
does get killed before you get to do the thing pretty often, sadly. Like opponents know just to not mess around with this sheep.
Yeah, fair. All right, our one and only site in the set is Night Dojo. This is a legendary site with 1 durability, I think is the word we're going with. It is 3 Feln. When the enemy plays a spell directly on 1 or more of your units, they discard a card. Okay. It gets rid of pinpoint removal. It doesn't do anything for combat tricks. And then you have Rindra's Agenda, which is Feln Blueprints that lets you go get a Primal or Shadow sigil out of your deck. You get, and you get Reflection, Revenge, and both players draw a card, and then you get Abduct. The enemy player discards a unit of your choice from their hand, then steal it and put it into your void. And then finally, you get to play Rindra Infiltrator, which is the latest version of Rindra, which is a 2/3 for 4, and then +4/+4 in lifesteal if you have played a spell this turn. Summon, the enemy player discards a card of their choice from their hand. Yeah, I'm so off this site, dude. I'm like an F on it, and I think you're gonna tell me I'm wrong, but I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't think you're too far off. I don't think this is very good in limited at all. It doesn't really protect itself. It dies to
Everything.
yeah, like
If
there's
your opponent clicks past the turn too hard, this thing dies.
yeah. Yeah, there's like a good amount of spells that people are playing in their decks in various colors that deal damage to this thing,
Hmm.
Trick throw, bullseye, etc.
Snowball,
Snowball, right? So,
fire cub.
yeah, there. No, that doesn't
Oh
actually
no,
work. But
that's his.
just one flyer of any size when you don't, it just is so fragile.
And then
Um,
you're giving your opponent 2 cards so
well,
they can find an answer.
it, I think if the agenda gets that far, it might actually go all the way. Um, but no, I don't think this is very good in limited. Uh, I, man, I want to give it like I don't think an F is right, but like a D I think is fine.
Fine,
I mean,
fine.
if I didn't
D.
belt, I would play this.
Sure, I'll have to lose to it before I give it credit. Fine. D for Night Dojo. This card, on the other hand, is absolutely busted. Iadra Twisted Brewer is a 3/4 shaman at rare for 4 double film. When an enemy unit attacks, its health becomes 1. When an enemy unit blocks, its strength becomes 1. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be the card that I have to keep reading on the Sunset Show.
I have to if this is in my deck in play, I have to read it literally every turn. My turn
Yep.
and the opponent's turn every turn.
Yep,
I can never
same
remember
thing.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, this card's great. It's just an A, right? A 3/4 body for 4. It's a little hard to cast, but it's already serviceable. But the main thing is just that ability. It makes attacking and blocking so awkward for your opponent. Like, unbelievably awkward. This thing is a must-answer threat just by sitting there.
Yeah, it never even has to tussle. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And those stat changes are permanent, obviously, because Eternal.
So
I think it's
yeah, it's so good. Like, they attack with their 6/6, you block with your 2/2, their 6/6 becomes a 6/1 and dies. And then this thing works so well with combat tricks because, like John just mentioned, it is permanent debuff. So if they use a combat trick to save their guy when they're attacking, guess what? At the end of turn, becomes a 0 and dies. Because when it does the minus, it takes the combat trick into account. So, yeah, this card's great. Just play it any chance you get. All right, John. Home stretch for real, man. Here we go. Last 2 generic cards or factionless cards. Greater Plans is a power. Gain an influence in a faction of one of your heroes or a hero in your hand. So heroes, yeah, pretty much.
colorless.
I mean, if you have enough heroes, I guess it's fixed. Nah, yeah, you're right.
You
F.
it's an F.
F. Next up, Glorious Gathering is a legendary relic for 1 generic. Once per turn, you may pay 3 to gain an influence of your choice. At the start of your turn, if you have 5 different heroes and their factions include Fire, Time, Justice, Primal, Shadow, you win the game. F.
F.
All right, sweet. There we go. So,
wacky build around.
yeah, multi-faction cards looked good, and then generic cards look like straight garbage.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So bad.
Sweet. All right, John, we did it, buddy. And I think we're a little ahead of schedule, so sweet, man. That was a blast. A lot of this, man. This set is lining up to be one of the best limited sets that Eternal has thrown out yet, man.
Yeah, I think Windvoke is making a few people mad or whatever, but I'm having so much fun with this format. I like the rares, I like the commons, like the uncommons. Like, I'm still experimenting with draft archetypes I haven't tried yet.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. Great job, Direwolf. Keep it up. Having a blast. Real quick, just for Constructed Corner, because it just happened, I want to give a shout out to Ronan X, right? Is the winner of the Open Last Chance Qualifier. And then I want to wish you and IP and who is it? Is it AG? We have
Hero.
Alex
doing the next tournament, the
Yep.
LCQ Invitational.
Yes, nice. So Godspeed to you guys on that one. At least, It's only there can be only one, so unfortunately, two of you got to get knocked out by the other. But I hope one of you guys win.
Thank you.
Good luck to all our competitors out there, but not as much luck as the Eternal Journey guys. And but yeah, so just wanted to throw a little constructed corner in there. And Direwolf has already announced that there will be an OP season for next year. So they haven't announced the details of it, but they did say they will for sure have it. So that's a bonus. But
Okay,
that's
did
gonna
you
do it.
also see that they announced like that they're not like they basically decided to keep the draft rewards.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. I'm sorry. Yes, correct.
Another little
So
announcement.
yeah, so P Sully on the Discord unofficially announced that they are going to keep the new quote unquote new draft rewards in place. So we're still keeping the 5 wins gives you a free draft. Woot woot. I think it's phenomenal. So shout out to them. So thank you guys. But all right, that's gonna do it for us. Thank you so much for watching, listening, tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate your patience, and we will catch you guys next time. But until then, as always, happy gaming.
Shout out to Alex. Good luck in your draft queues.
Draft Q hype.